Hey, Joseph.
Yeah?
I got a new voice note. You want to hear it?
What's that?
Lefty the Great with his trusty sidekick, Rupert Pumpernickels.
I like that one.
We already played that.
Sidekick my
We already
ass.
played that.
You know what? You just...
I'm the main kick.
No. I'm Danger Mouse and you're Penfold.
What's that?
You never watched Danger Mouse when you was young? It's like,
No.
it's like a British cartoon. Penfold had glasses and he's like a little nerd. Actually, you look more like Danger Mouse because he was tall and skinny and Penfold was kind of short and round. But you act just like Penfold, so, you know?
Nitro is the glory. Welcome to the No Name RC podcast with your host tonight, Keenan White, aka Lefty the Great, and if you are unlucky, the Finnish village idiot, JQ. This is the RC podcast with no name, but plenty of content. So sit back, relax, and get ready for some serious bench racing.
Yes, indeed. Nitro's the glory, but E-Buggy pays the bills. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode number 53 of the No Name RC podcast. I'm your host, Keenan White, a.k.a. Lefty the Great. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody. To all of our American friends, happy Turkey Day, happy Thanksgiving. I hope you guys eat a lot of food, drink a lot of beer, watch some football. I have always wanted to be in America for Thanksgiving. One day it would happen. It will happen. Thanksgiving and July 4th. The two holidays I want to spend in America to just enjoy it and do like the American holiday thing. So happy Thanksgiving to you guys. I'm thankful for everybody that listens and supports the No Name RC podcast. We can't do it without you. I appreciate all of the support, all the messages, all the questions, everything that you guys do. Everybody that rocked up and bought some t-shirts, man, we sold out of all the big sizes. So we only have a large. Sorry, but we got to make some more so we can, that you guys can buy them. But thank you to everybody that bought them. Show them off, spread the love. We appreciate it. Honestly, we really do. I was shocked. I didn't know that they would sell out so fast. So thank you. Man, we definitely have to make some more. Maybe we'll make a little different design. Maybe we'll make two, like the No Name RC podcast, like that one, and maybe a different design. We'll see. We definitely need to get a Nitro is the Glory one going on. So thank you. Thank you to the hashtag No Name RC Podcast Squad. Thank you. This week's guest is Davod Isherwood, the owner of RCGP. I talked to him about this past year in RCGP and the future coming up in 2020. I have not talked to Davod since RCGP. So it was a good chat with him. And also on the Tekno Grassroots Racer Spotlight is Travis Kendall, fellow podcaster and grassroots racer in the Pacific Northwest. So thank you as well. If you guys didn't notice, we have started, I know we had a Patreon before, but now this Patreon is directly to the podcast. This podcast is starting to become a full-time job for me, and I love it. I'm just trying to, hey, we need funds to support. We spend a lot of money on equipment. Everything costs money. Hosting the websites. We're going to probably have a website soon. And we just, the people that did support us through Patreon, we greatly appreciate it. But now this is directly connected to the podcast. I know a lot of people were iffy about the previous Patreon, but I thank you to everybody that did support through that. Now you can go to patreon.com/NNRC podcast. And hey, every little bit helps, and we greatly, greatly appreciate it because we cannot do it. In 2020, we're trying to do some big things and bring you guys plenty of content. So, hey, thank you. And if you do support via Patreon, we're probably going to be doing some Patreon-only giveaways and special things, like maybe when the T-shirts come out, the Patreon guys, depending what tier you're on, they will get first dibs on, or maybe they might even get special shirts. I don't know. We're going to work on it, and it's going to be an ongoing process. So if you guys do sign up for Patreon, I greatly appreciate it. And thank you to all of those that have signed on. Thank you to everybody that donated for the crowdfund for that Mike Walker started. I am flying out to Fall Brawl on Tuesday. So it's going to be great. I really enjoyed the Fall Brawl race. Myrtle Beach, hanging out with Brent, all the guys from the Southeast. And it's going to be a good time. It always is. And yeah, I just appreciate the support for that. It really helped me get a ticket. Tickets are expensive right now coming out of the DR. Ticket that would normally cost me like $250 or almost $600. At one point I saw it at almost $1,200. So yeah, it's tourist season here in the DR. So tickets are just a little bit expensive. So thank you everybody. And I look forward to seeing everybody and drinking some Modelo's and White Claw. That's what Lefty drinks now. Modelo's and White Claw. Not touching that Fireball stuff that Brent likes. So no. Before I go on any further, I would like to shout out to our sponsors because we also cannot do it without them. So shout out to RCMX Online, Euro RC, Just RC No Bullshit, Assault RC. It's your go-to for all your performance enhancement needs, lubes, specialty tools, gauges, tool holders. Assault RC is the place to find them. Remember, go to assaultrc.com, use promo code LEFTY19 in all caps, and you will get 10% off your order. Tekno RC for bringing us the Grassroots Racer Spotlight. That's the part of the podcast that's dedicated to you, grassroots racers of RC. Tekno RC is a premium manufacturer specializing in competitive, dependable, and affordable 8th and 10th scale buggies and trucks for racers and RC enthusiasts. Visit www.teknorc.com for a complete catalog of their vehicles, hop-ups, and accessories. And congratulations to Jared Tebow. He dominated the Buggy Land race this past weekend at Nitro Buggy. Obviously, JQ Racing, you know I represent JQ Racing. Be a part of a team, not just a number. We're still recruiting. If you wish to join be a part of the JQ Racing team for 2020, please hit us up. Send me an email or shoot me a message on Facebook. And thank you and welcome to all the new guys that have joined the team. Thank you for your support. BK Servos, stress performance for value. Our servos are extremely high performance, especially models like the DS-702HV. Super fast and precise, and at a cost of a fraction of the comparable high-end servos. The DS-S-HT model has more torque than almost anything out there, and again, for an excellent price, says Bert Kammerer, who is a badass helicopter pilot. I was watching a video of him this week. BK Servos drivers include drivers like Max the Panda Floor, who I will see at Fall Brawl, and I will get a podcast with Max because he's the Dirt Oval King. So if you guys go to www.bkservo.com, use the promo code TheNoName, you get 15% off your order. Bipolar Design. Jason Darling is pushing out some serious decals. I was looking at Bipolar Design's Facebook the other day. He says, looking for custom decals for your RC cars? Look no further. Bipolar Designs have you covered, matching your paint scheme to your radio, headsets, pitboard, you name it, we cover it. Jason Darling, Bipolar Designs. You can go to Facebook and find Bipolar Designs or contact Jason Darling directly on Facebook and tell him Lefty sent you, and he'll get you hooked up. Thank you to my good buddy Clint Treadway. I was just talking to him the other day. He's excited. He's racing again. He's having fun. He's in the workshop pushing out products. And that is 454 RC Works. Go to 454rcworks.com. They're pushing out a lot of 3D printed stuff, carbon fiber bits for different cars. Clint Treadway is a small business. It's a very small business. Good friend of mine, known him for a few years now. Please go to his website. Help support the small business of RC. Use promo code NNPC 2019 in all caps, and you get 15% off your order. Please, let's support the small companies in RC. Another small company who believes in what we do here at the podcast, Papa Willie's Traction Tonic. Papa Willie's Traction Tonic has you covered for your RC tire traction needs. Whether you race on carpet, concrete, or dirt, loose dirt, dry, slick, or high grip surfaces, Papa Willie's Traction Tonic cures poor traction. Woo! Go to www.papawillies.net. Use promo code NNRC in all caps to get 10% off your order. Prepare for victory with Papa Willie's Traction Tonic. I'm getting pretty good at that. And pat myself on the back right there. And our latest sponsor, RC Raceworks. Ed O'Brien up there in New Jersey, pushing out these awesome. I just posted it on Facebook. These cases that he's doing for the iCharger 308 and 406 Duo. Really good, really good. The case features a 1,000 watt, 12 volt power supply, panel mounted 4mm binding post, and balance boards. A dual 2.1 amp USB charger, and a dual 12 volt panel mounted auxiliary binding post to power pit lights, engine, tire, battery, warmers, etc. The case was designed for the traveling racer in mind, and the case fits right between the wheels of the OGO 9800 bag, making traveling with your charger easier and more convenient than ever. Cases are built to order. We will soon be offering cases that customers can install their own equipment into a case, saving them money and time. Go to www.rcworks.com and you can use, where is the promo code? Dun, 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 dun. Lefty, just Lefty in small letters, and you get 10% off your charger cases. These cases are pretty cool. I need to talk to Ed about making an all-in-one case that I can travel with for all the podcast equipment. I think that's what I'm going to have to talk to him about. So thank you to all of our sponsors. Remember, guys, showing our sponsors shows us some love. We appreciate, we try to, you save some shingles when you go to these guys and use our promo codes, and also shows that we're doing something for our sponsors. So remember, showing our sponsors some love shows the podcast some love, and you get to save some money, support small businesses in RC, just like you support the No Name RC podcast. So, not much going on in RC. We did have the Buggy Land race. Rupert was there. I don't know. He was just abysmal there. He did make the A and E buggy. We're going to talk about, when I call him up, I'm going to talk to him. I know he was all depressed and dramatic. I was so worried about him. I actually had to call somebody and say, hide all the rope and sharp objects from him, because I thought he was going to end it all after his abysmal performance at Buggy Land. He needs to just become, this is what I told him the other day, just become an e-buggy, nitro truck, and a truggy specialist, because you're really good at that. Give up on nitro buggy. He didn't like that. He got kind of angry. So I'm going to tease him some more when I call him up. But yeah, Tebow won that. That was really good. I want to talk to Joseph because he was there, so he knows exactly what happened. I think he has a whole rant planned about the race. Joseph, he's always got something to rant about. And nothing. Was there any other news in RC? I'll talk with Joseph about some of those things. Let me give him a call. Hey, Joseph.
Yeah.
I got a new voice note. You want to hear it?
What's that?
Lefty the Great with his trusty sidekick, Rupert Pumpernickels.
I like that one.
We already played that.
Sidekick my
We
ass.
already played that.
You know what?
I'm the main kick.
No. I'm Danger Mouse and you're Penfold.
What's that?
You never watched Danger Mouse when you was young? It's like a British cartoon. Penfold had glasses and he's like a little nerd. Actually, you look more like Danger Mouse because he was tall and skinny, and Penfold was kind of short and round. But you act just like Penfold, so, Anyway, thank you to John Jennings of the Voice RC podcast for that. He gave me some voice notes. I think he has a really great voice for voiceover, so thank you, John. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. This is Thanksgiving when I'm recording with Joseph, a.k.a. Rupert Pumpernickels. He just finished his Facebook Live. He's all excited about that. And it's good to see you in a really good mood, Joseph, because I was really worried about you this weekend. I actually messaged a few guys and I said, please, hide all the rope, hide all sharp objects from Joseph. I can see that he's super depressed with his abysmal performance at Buggy Land. I don't want him to end it. I kind of put you like on suicide watch because I thought you was going to go that way.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. It wasn't a good weekend. Actually, I can't explain this. Over the weekend, something happened which normally a normal person would get more depressed about, but it kind of cheered me up. Now, the people that know, but the people that don't know, well, I guess you just don't know.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
But
frazzled you.
it's
You
weird.
was done.
I was thinking afterwards that it's kind of weird that the thing that happened should depress me more, but it's actually cheered me up. Like I was depressed about other things, and then this incident just cheered me up. It's really weird.
Yeah,
it's weird.
You're off. You're weird like that. But you sucked this weekend. I heard
Qualifying was interesting because I felt pretty good, but I would always make some stupid mistake, and I qualified bad. And then I was pretty confident for the main too. I was like, yeah, this should be no problem. I bumped in e-buggy and nitro, and that just really good first 3/4 of a lap, and then just complete meltdown. Got taken out by a Tekno driver, which makes it worse. Dropped to last, and then I just blew out like for 1.5 laps. I was just really shit.
Yeah, I heard.
Lost like 15 seconds. And then after that was good again. And actually, my lap times were decent and doing fine, but I was like way behind. So.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a weird race.
The layout I enjoyed. I think it was pretty cool too. I didn't. I think the layout was good. At first impression was like, no, this is gonna suck for racing. But then it turned out it was actually pretty fun for racing. We had a good e-buggy race. Mm-hmm. I think
we had a good B main. Me, Westergaard, Dylan Nelson,
and CJ,
and someone else. CJ Jelly, was he in the B main? Yeah, maybe he was.
Yes,
he won, and then we were fighting. No, I think they only bumped two.
I think you took him out
Anthony. No, that he was in the main. Anthony and I bumped.
Okay,
so
all right, must have been in the main.
We just had a good B main, like battling for top 3. Then Anthony kind of pulled away. Then it was me and Nelson battling, and then he made a mistake on the last lap, and I got the bump. So that was a good race. And then the A main was a good race too. But unfortunately, I broke.
Yeah, I saw you was out early.
Like halfway or something.
I heard you got screamed at for driving from the pit lane. You know better than that. All this mystery. There are rules.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they did? I didn't hear that. I never heard that.
Yeah, I heard.
Maybe because I was driving in pit lane.
Yeah.
Because I was finishing braking in my engine, so I sort of...
So you're above the rules? That's what you're trying to say?
Okay, let me explain something.
Oh, gosh.
Races in America. There are no rules. There are no rules.
Well, there are rules. You can't drive from the pit lane.
No, there's no rule like that. Show me the rule. There's no rules, right? If people can just do what the hell they want, then I do what I want. So I tuned my engine from pit lane and broke in the drivetrain, because I had new outdrives and drive shafts, and it was fine. No one got hurt. If they gonna have like zoo practice, so just stand in line, put your radio there, this bullshit practice, nothing is controlled, drive as long as you want. If they're going to do that, then I'm going to drive from pit lane to tune my engine. Sorry. There's no rules.
So you're above the rules. That's what you're trying to say. I'm JQ and I'm above the rules.
I'm above the rules. There are no rules. Don't you understand? You can't go to the Euros and drive from pit lane, because there are actually rules.
Oh, stop your
Buggy land, there's no rules. You can do what the fuck you want.
Oh, shut up.
There's no rules.
Shut up.
They can just decide, we're going to make a 30-minute amen. Oh, we're going to change it to 45.
All right.
Oh, we're going to do a 50. They just make it
save
up as they
your
go along.
rant for the rant, okay?
Hey,
just stop your noise.
If
we got to talk about the race
organizer makes it up, can you fucking listen? If the race organizer makes it up as they go along, there are no rules. And I can tune my engine from pit lane. No one got hurt. It hurt no one. Everything was fine. Everything was fine.
Shut up.
No one's told me anything.
Let's go. Let's move.
CJ's Jelly's dad or stepdad or
he said I tried to turn off my radio. But he was joking. Yeah. He was joking.
No, he really tried. He was serious.
Yeah, but he was joking. He was telling me, he told me that he was just joking with you. He says he likes you a lot. You got to take that because not many people like you. So
that's cool.
But the man was pretty good. Tebow dominated that race from start to finish, man. Wow, I was shocked. Like nobody could mount an offense again. I mean, he led from start to finish. I'm like, I thought Mayfield would reel him in. Nothing at all.
Yeah, Tebow was good the whole weekend.
Yeah, it was
kinda like his kind of track motocross.
Yeah,
it's good.
But I mean, not taken away from Tebow. I was just shocked that Mayfield, you know how you always think like Mayfield's always going to be there and get there somehow, some way. I was like, yeah, it's 45 minutes. He'll come on in about 25 minutes. And it just didn't happen.
He just lacked a bit of pace. I don't know why. Was it his tires? Was it his setup? I don't know. Something about his package was lacking.
You was there. You didn't see the race. You didn't see the final, but conditions. I was just, I don't know. And then CJ came third, which is really good for him.
Yeah, solid.
Good result for him. And let me see. I'm bringing up the results here now. Or do you have them there? Let's look. Sorry, guys. I know I should have had this out, but I didn't.
You're the one that should be prepared.
I know, but I actually have final standings, so let's go. Open Nitro Buggy. Joe Bornhorst in fourth, Tanner Denny in fifth, Seth Van Dalen. Now, this was a pleasant surprise because I think Seth has just kind of recently been upgraded on the Tekno team. So we're going to see him traveling a lot more. And for a guy that hasn't really raced much outside of his region, I mean, he did good at the Nationals. And I keep hearing how he's really fast up in his region. I heard that from everybody that talks about him. It's really impressive. Coming to Thunder Alley, I think I could be wrong, maybe his first time at Thunder Alley. And he had a bump from the B, I believe. And that's a solid performance. 6th place. Yeah, I would say so. Congratulations to Seth Van Dalen. Tekno has a real good talent there. And Anthony Westergaard, man, I'm telling you, man. I said this on the podcast last week with Zeke. Anthony Westergaard has improved so much. He's putting in a lot of work.
I want to take credit for that.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I'm going to take credit for this because Anthony wants to beat me so bad that he's been practicing.
He doesn't want to beat you.
I think I really...
He is beating you. Yes, there's a difference.
He does want to beat me.
But he is beating you.
There's no... Do you speak English? This is the English language. That means that he wants to beat me so bad that he puts in the work and, he's improving a lot. So I motivate Anthony.
Right. Well, now hopefully you motivate yourself to beat him. But Anthony is definitely... This year he has improved immensely. Like, really, a lot. So that's good. Adam Drake, who your new best buddy, with a great picture of him, and you guys went out to dinner with Rhonda. That's cool. I'm so glad to see that. I'm so happy that I negotiated and worked all that out, and it finally happened. It only took me like 1.5 years to convince you to like go talk to him properly. So, and I'm so glad. Don't mess it up. It's better to be friends and get along than to be a fucking dickhead, okay?
How could I mess it up?
I've seen you mess
up.
Well,
I'm sure I could think of a way.
But it's good to see. And I know if you're enjoying it too, but he had a good, solid performance. 8th. Cole Ogden. I'm a little shocked at this. Cole did well at RCGP, and I was expecting him to have more speed. But
something happened in the main.
Okay, he
had a problem in the main. He was fast. I mean, Yeah, he was fast.
I expect big things from Cole next year. He seems to be taking it a little bit more, much more serious now. So, should be good. Carlos Arredondo. Man, this kid's so talented, man. But it always seems like he has issues. So talented.
Because he drives over his head.
Yeah, but he's still young. I think he's so talented. Got lots of talent. He just probably needs to get a little bit more racecraft. Him and his dad put in a lot of work, too. Good people. Cavalieri, another so-so performance, 11th.
Well, I mean, Cavalieri was leading the e-buggy main when the screw fell out. Rear upper link screw fell out.
Oh, wow.
Then in Nitro, what happened in Nitro? I don't know what happened in Nitro, but he was running pretty good. What position was he when he retired?
It doesn't say. I've just got overall results here. I don't have the actual race up. So let's see.
But yeah, he was faster than what his results show. But honestly, I think in Cavalieri's case, the speed is there. But what's lacking is that sort of extra effort you need to put in Nitro. You need to go to the track a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
You need to make sure your cars stay together. Engines are tuned. Everything's good. Like, Nitro takes more work than 10 scale. 10 scale, you can just show up and do your thing and you can do well. Nitro, you need to put more time in. And he isn't putting the time in, so he has these issues, or at the races. So that's how I see it. He would need to focus a bit more on 8 scale if he wants to get the results. He's close, but he's almost like he
I think he's missing.
He needs to be lucky to get the result instead of just his program being solid and him getting the result every time.
Any rumors? Did you hear anything floating around about him? Because he's keeping things tight-lipped. I haven't heard anything since. I still feel...
He doesn't tell me anything, which is good because then I can talk about it. Because if he told me, then I couldn't say anything.
Right.
That's also kind of happened in the past where someone tells me what they're doing and then I can't talk about it here. So because he hasn't said anything, I can say that I've heard that TLR's been an option.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that it's going to happen. I've heard that it's not happening from some people. And, like we said before, S-Works really seems like the only option. I mean, S-Works, TLR, Serpent, I think were the ones we were talking about.
Yeah.
And TLR doesn't seem like they are adding any drivers to their lineup. They aren't investing in their racing program. So I don't see him going there because I think Cavalieri would be an expensive driver to add. So I honestly think that he needs a deal from S-Works to run both 10 scale and 8 scale. And if Cavalieri doesn't get a deal from S-Works, then I honestly can't think of a team he would go to. Like where? Could he be the first real top guy to not have a ride? Like not have the level of deal that he's had up until now. Like, could this actually be the year?
It will be interesting.
When someone gets left out, in a sense.
It will be very interesting. How about PR Racing?
No, I don't think so.
No budget for that either?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for this. It's been coming for so many years. Like there will be a time when one of these highly paid drivers will not be able to get deals. It's going to happen. It happens in other sports. It's going to happen in RC also. Like TLR scales down. Let's say Kyosho scales down more also. There's going to be too many drivers.
Why wouldn't Kyosho be an option for him?
Kyosho don't have the money to pay drivers like that.
Well, he did have a great race 2 weeks ago in Florida, and I don't know. It's gonna he's still gonna have to run 10 scale some way, but I don't know how. Like it's gonna. Yeah, I think he's got a plan. He's just keeping it tight to his chest, and until it's secure, he's not letting anybody know. So yeah. Good stuff. And then, of course, coming in 12th was your nemesis for the weekend, Cody King. You and him are best friends right now.
Yeah, I think he wants to kill me.
Yeah, I think so. Most definitely. Well, add that to the list of a few hundred other people that want to do that to you. So,
but listen, I actually analyzed this whole situation. So what happened was, there was an incident on track. Cody got mad at me. After the race, we're in the pits. Like I'm turning off my car and stuff, and he's all up in my face, yelling at me, basically saying that I suck and my car sucks and I'm a terrible human being.
Wow.
And so I'm listening, and so here's the deal. I think I have a big problem with sort of what I perceive to be injustice, something that's unjust, something that's not right. So on track, we never touched. It was qualifying, obviously. So if someone fast is behind you, you need to let them by, if my start qualifying. So I made a mistake, and then Cody was behind me. Then we go over a double jump, and I make another mistake mistake, and I kind of short the jump, hit the pipe on the inside. It was this like hip jump. You don't need to time to the inside. So I short the jump on the pipe, and my car kind of stops, and he jumps over me. So our cars never touched. Then he goes into the next jump and jumps off the track. So I saw this, and then I just continued. I'm like, wow, that's funny. Like, I thought that in my mind as we were racing. So after the race, I knew why Cody was mad. So I knew he thought that I messed him up somehow. But in reality, I didn't. So the fact that he was so mad at me and yelling at me, and I didn't do anything wrong, that's what pissed me off. You know, because I felt like, okay, this is not fair. This is unjust. I didn't do anything. You are wrong. That's what I'm thinking.
Let's be realistic here.
He's listen. So he's yelling at me. He's all mad, and all I'm doing. This is the thing. Like, if you're gonna call me names and shit like that, I'm gonna think of something to say that's gonna be infinitely worse than what you're telling me. Because what you're saying to me is it's just water off a duck's back. I don't give a shit. You can't say anything that's gonna offend me or piss me off more. You can't. So I say something, and he gets even more mad, you know. And then he keeps on going. You know, he starts pushing me.
I got like that. He was
crazy,
pushing you.
You know? Yeah. He's all up in my face, and then I say the next thing. You know, very specific, targeted attacks, and that's it. You know, what can you do?
I think it has something to do with what you posted on Facebook a week ago too, maybe, but. You know what, man?
If you go on Judge Judy, then it's public. It's on TV.
Yeah, I don't really care about what goes on with his family, and I don't really care what goes on with him because, man, I just think that dude's had a lot of chances. And what did I say? He's gonna work his way back in, and he drove pretty decent. I mean, he made the A main, so
he's a good driver. Just a waste because his attitude is so wrong.
Yeah, well,
like mentally, he's just fried. He really needs to get his shit together. I mean, he's a world champion, so obviously he's a good driver.
Mm-hmm.
Just everything else is like falling apart.
Well, that's not my issue, so I'm not worried about him. I just know how these things work, and it makes me laugh when I see these type of things. So anyway, that's enough about that race. I know you want to talk about it and rant about it later on. Congratulations to Jared Tebow. It was a great race. Congratulations to Tekno. They had a bunch of cars in the main, so. Good stuff. That was a good win for Tekno and for Tebow, I'd say. So
congratulations to Anthony Westergaard now making it 3-0.
Yeah. Keep it up, Anthony. Keep it up, Anthony. And next time, hey, man, we definitely got to hide rope and sharp objects from you because you get all depressed. Jesus. I know you you know me. I know you. And when you have a bad race, it's like,
It's not just the race. Actually, I think the race went bad because of other situations.
Yeah, because you mentally defeated yourself already. You was not in the mental space to do it, and you messed up. I know how it goes. Anyway, enough about your race. Enough about that. We have a whole bunch of Facebook questions to get to. You have anything else to talk about while we're here? Any other news going on? Oh, we saw Camden Lion has gone to S-Works, but we kind of knew that was going to happen anyway.
Yeah, I have some news.
What's
We've
that?
got a ridiculous. I mean, you got to check out my recent Facebook lives. Seriously, we've got some ridiculous deals going.
Yeah. All right. Don't worry about it.
Basically, you get a black edition and get a free OS engine. That's basically how good the deal is.
Can I get a free OS engine with my black edition that you sold?
Well, if you buy one.
No, you sold my car.
Go on international.jqracing.com.
That's my car you sold.
Check it out. What car? Anyway, what did you leave?
That Spec Q is mine.
Or a Spec Q? Well, I sold it.
That Spec Q is mine. Don't sell my radios and stuff that are in the car either. In the van.
I sold your clothes on eBay.
Why? Nobody's going to buy them. You probably did. That's why you was eating.
What's sunny?
That's why he was eating peanuts and yogurt this morning for breakfast.
It's good.
Anyway.
Mexican rice pudding.
All right. Let's get to some questions here. First up is Brad Geck from Associated Element. He asks, I need to get Brad on this podcast too. How do we pump the brakes on the tire consumption? The balance of prep time versus drive time is way out of balance. I guess he's talking about 10 scale. Could be 8 scale too.
Yeah, I don't know.
We kind of talked
I guess
about that.
rules would be the only way to do that.
Yeah, spec tire.
Controlling.
Adam Ross, what's up? Hey, Adam Ross up there in Canada. He wants to know when will a cool season recap video be available for RCGP? He needs another RCGP video fix. Actually, our guest this week, David Isherwood, probably talks about that, but I think it's coming soon. That's what I was told.
There are videos being released all the time.
Yeah, but we want the recap video. That's what I want too. I wonder if I even made the recap video.
What recap video?
Like of the season in general. You know?
Okay.
Yeah, don't act like you don't know what we're talking about.
I don't know what you're talking. I don't know about
like an overall recap, like the video, like documenting the whole season. You get what I'm saying?
I don't know that there's a video like that.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Don't be stupid.
Oh, there's no video like that coming out in the next few weeks.
Well, it's one.
So that's why I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, that's not what I heard. Anyway. John Blakely, when will RCGP make its debut at Otterville RC in Canada? That's where Adam Ross is as well. I don't know. Maybe when RCGP comes a little bit more, you know, and everybody participates and we can and it can travel more.
I don't know.
You're not in the mood to answer questions today. I shouldn't even be like.
I didn't hear the question. I was busy.
Yeah, pay attention,
That's what
man.
I just said, I don't know.
He says, when will RCGP make its debut at Otterville RC in Canada? He's joking. These guys, they'll race up there in Canada. It's a nice little track, too. That's not little, but it's nice.
The same year that JQ Racing has a truggy.
Pete Phillips, why do RC clothing vendors discriminate against fat guys? I know my 4X shirt will cost more. No, I'm not going on a diet. Well, we did have 4Xs, and they all sold out, and I took about 3 of them. So we're getting some more. We're gonna make a nice, cool, no name RC podcast design shirt. We gotta get one for 2020, different one. Joseph Cood, what tracks are running for RCGP rounds next season? That hasn't been decided yet. Correct?
The what?
What tracks for RCGP next year? Pay attention, man.
I don't know. They're negotiating.
Okay.
David is negotiating with them.
Rob Lupo.
Tracks.
On C-Hub cars, most models run Rob Lupo. Remember Rob Lupo? You know Rob Lupo.
Yeah, the cop.
Yeah. I was talking to him the other day. On C-Hub cars, most models run like a 17.5 or 20 degrees C-Hub. There are different hub angles from 0 degree to 2 to 4 degree. How does changing the hub angle help the car, turning, corner speed, etc.? When should you consider different ones from 0?
You know, Rob always gets mad at me when I post about cops killing innocent people.
Oh, God. Can you just answer the man's question, please?
It's mad. It's so funny. Like, are you biased, Rob? Is it because you're a cop?
Oh, shut up
So,
and answer the
not
question.
all cops. I'm like, I didn't say all cops. I just said this specific one that shot this guy in the head 17 times. This guy. I think this guy was a bit of a bad apple, you know? Rob always gets mad. It's always fun. Anyway, let's get to his question. So 17.5. First of all, I have a big issue with people making 17.5 C-hubs. You know why? Because everyone had like 14, 15, 16, 18, 20, right? Everyone had that. Then HB made 17.5 and won the world. And everyone lost their minds. It doesn't make a fucking difference if it's 16 or 18 or 17.5. Right? If you put 18 and 17, look, just fucking, are you seriously saying like, oh my God, that's going to be magic? So everyone starts making 17.5 C-hubs. You know, that really annoys me, that kind of stuff. Anyway,
Okay, can you answer his question?
that wasn't the question.
No.
Yeah. So that...
Is
so
he
that
talking about
angle,
kingpin angle? Inclination?
Yes, he's talking about the kingpin inclination. So when you have 0 KPI, we're going to call it KPI, kingpin inclination. When it's 0, when you set the front camber to 0, the kingpins are going to be vertical. So the two screws in the steering knuckle, they'll be vertical. When you have some inclination, zero camber, they're going to be angled inwards. So the top screw is angled inwards. So if you have 2 degrees at zero camber, the kingpins are going to be angled 2 degrees. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. Or 4, then angled 4. Or 10, whatever. So he's asking what that does. So what it does is, if you add a knuckle with inclination, then you'll have smoother initial steering. So the car will be easier to drive on a track where your car is really aggressive and nervous. Let's say high grip track, and steering is kind of nervous, twitchy around neutral. So the inclination is going to smooth that out. So that's a good thing. Then the inclination, smooth initial steering, but then when you're in the corner, then you have good steering. Like mid to exit on power, you have some more steering. So that's good, yeah. But the problem is, let's say you go in the corner and the corner is kind of loose. There's a grippy line, but then there's dust off line, and maybe you hit the dust a bit. Maybe you'll oversteer and spin out. Because as you're in the corner, the car also wants to turn more. And as it wants to turn more, you're kind of in the marbles, your car kind of wants to spin out. So if that's your problem, if you keep losing the rear end due to oversteer in corners, maybe try no inclination, the zeros. Because what happens is, yes, initial steering is more aggressive, but when you go into the corner, then it doesn't want to have that oversteer. It sort of maintains the same steering sort of, or even pushes a bit in the corner. So then you won't want to spin out. So it could be easier to drive with the zeros.
Okay.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. You actually done a really
so
extensive Facebook Live on this too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the Facebook Lives, it's probably in the description.
Yeah. A really good one.
Yeah,
I'll find a link for him and post it up.
A wheel in half and showed exactly what's happening. So yeah, but that's the short story.
Okay. Tony Schumacher, he says, easy question. Easy smooth tracks or big boy hard tracks?
Big boy hard tracks.
Okay. He also has another question. Why pro setups won't work for you?
Some pro setups do work, but I think many pro setups are too hard to drive for the normal guy because they probably have a lot of steering and they're quite responsive and you have to be in full control of the car. So you have to sort of actively drive it at all times. You can't just sort of, coast and let the car do its thing. You have to be driving it. You want to be able to throw it around and have more steering when you need to, or drift when you want to, and have traction when you choose to, sort of thing. So it's the cars, the top guys, they sort of tailor their cars to their driving style. They get used to something and they like something, and that's how they set their cars up. So, but it's not always like that. I think you can also pick someone's car and it could be, pretty neutral and easy to drive also. It's not always the case. But yeah, often probably the thing that, let's say, an average driver would notice when they pick up a pro's car is how much steering and rotation it has. Like they're like, whoa, they can't drive it because it turns so much. That's kind of the feeling they get.
Okay. Brandon Holder, he's nuts for Truggy. Where's my damn Truggy? Truggy is life. I will stop asking when my Truggy is made. Nitro is a glory. E-Buggy pays the bills, and Truggy is life.
He must be American.
He's from Texas, actually. Good guy. He has a JQ, so that's why he wants a Truggy.
Yeah, no Truggies at the moment.
Eddie Garza. What's up, Eddie? I love this question. Eddie is a good dude. When will Lefty get a raise? Asking for a friend.
Lefty is constantly getting raises.
Oh my gosh. Oh, here we go. Anyway.
Lefty got another raise thanks to the new Patreon. Patreon.com/NNRC podcast. Yeah. Go on there. Give Lefty $5 a month or $10 or $25 or $1 a month, whatever you do. Give him some money so we can fix his arm.
That reminds me, you got to get some RCGP decals to Sean Rusin.
Why?
Because he's a big supporter.
Did he buy a no-name RC?
Yes, he did. He bought one at RCGP, actually. You know what? I didn't even get no RCGP stickers. I don't know what's going on here. Anyway, Will Smith, yes, the real Will Smith from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He's into RC. You guys didn't know that? What do you think the next advancement in an RC chassis will be based around?
We've covered this, haven't we? Oh, no. Industry. Maybe not.
Industry.
The next development in 8-scale buggies?
I guess. Let's use 8-scale buggies.
I think the next thing will be that they will be made. I think weight distribution, they'll be made more lightweight, and thanks to that, then also development in tires.
They'll be made more lightweight and also able to disperse the weight in different locations easier.
No, like lighter cars work on the weight distribution, maybe some changes in weight distribution, because that has a big difference on the car. And then, that can lead to advancements in tires and different suspension setups.
Okay.
Yeah. I think our cars are kind of heavy. Old and heavy.
Well, they're lighter than what they were years ago. That's for sure.
Yeah, but I think a next step is going to come.
All right, let's go on to the next question. Next question comes from Chris Trudeau. Actually, it's quite a few questions. Which current RAW or EFRA or IFMAR rule would you like to see go away? What rules need to be better enforced, or should there be no restrictions? And he also asked about Elliott boots. We talked about that. And he also talks about top 25, which we've asked about a lot. And RCGP, sir, he says top 25 drivers, in an ideal situation, if the same top 25 drivers were part of the RCGP series, would that be the standard by which you would rank a driver? I would think so. Each driver competes over a series of races to determine the best, or are the results of a racing of all subjective and don't matter because it all boils down to luck? Yeah, that was a mouthful. Let's go to the first part of the question. Which current RAW or EFRA or IFMAR rule would you like to see go away? I know your answer to this.
Which current rule would I want to see go away?
Mm-hmm.
You know the answer? I don't know. What do I want to go away?
10 days of practice? Well, that's IFMAR.
Yeah, I guess I don't know if that's a rule. I guess it's a rule. That's more a format sort of thing. Yes, okay. The races are too long. We do not need 1 week long races. We just need 3-day races. That's it. So I guess it's more of a format change.
But no particular rules that you'd like to see change?
I can't think of a rule right now that I'd like to see change.
Okay.
To be honest.
All right. I can't really think of one either.
The rules are pretty good, I think. The issues I have are more to do with the format. Too much practice, too much qualifying, not enough racing.
I think my issue is...
I have format issues. Okay. I can't think of a rule.
I think my issue with RAW in particular is that there aren't enough. It's like that. Like I've said that before. Everybody goes to the RAW Nats and a lot of people don't even know what they're doing. Tech, all that type of stuff. I think if there were more regional races run by RAW officials properly, people would know what to expect and it would be a lot smooth. I'm not saying it's not smooth now, but people would just be used to it more. And I think that's one thing I like to see. And as for his top 25 question, actually Rick replied to what you said about the top 25 on the last podcast. I have to pull it up and see what he said. But he basically, this is his second question was, we covered this though. In an ideal situation, if the same top 25 drivers were part of the RCGP series, would that be the standard by which you would rank a driver? I would think so. But like, it's a difference. We talked about this before. The RCGP is a series, and the top 25 ranking is a ranking system, just like golf, tennis, I believe. And not always the top guy or the world champion is the number one in golf. So,
yeah.
I believe we covered this extensively on the last podcast. So,
yeah, the ranking, it's tough. Obviously, if the same drivers race a series, then that sort of becomes the ranking. But a ranking in a series is typically a bit of a different thing. And in RC, it's hard to have a ranking that seems, or a ranking that corresponds with the eye test. The eye test being people watching people race and determining who's the best. So a ranking doesn't do that necessarily when we don't have the drivers race each other enough in RC. So this is what I've tried to explain many times, is if the way that the list works is it looks at how many drivers from the list are at a race, and then that race gets counted. So if you started this list in Asia and you had the FEMCA race and you had the Philippine Masters and you had the Asia SIGP or whatever, you had those races, Carl McBride would be first, Aaron Stringer would be second, and whatever. And then you go to DNC, and the DNC doesn't count because not enough of the drivers on the list are at DNC, so it doesn't count. Then you have some other race in, I don't know, in Australia, and that counts because enough drivers are on the list. Do you understand?
mm-hmm.
There's a bias in the list based on where the list starts. And it's more obvious when you compare Europe and America. So if this list had been started in Europe, then more European races would count, and there would be more sort of Tanner Stees and Tanner Denny, and no offense to these guys, but there would be more drivers like that on the list, but Europeans. So it would be easier for European races to count. So when you go to some Italian hot race cup, right? All the Italian kids, fast kids are there, and Joao is there, and some Spanish guys and whatever, and they're on the list. So that race counts. Then you go to Buggyland USA, and it doesn't count. Do you see what I mean? So that's the problem with this list, that bias. You can't get away from it, really. So if you want to have a better ranking system, if you want to find out who's the best, then I think what Top 25 should do is they should publish a list of races. If they wanted to monetize it, then they could be like, look, if you have a major race and you want your race to be on this, then they have to pay a subscription fee or whatever, you know? So then those races are the ones that are counted for this series. Then if the industry truly cares about this ranking system, then they would send their drivers to those races, right? So then you know which races count, you go to those races, and then you're ranked. So it's almost like a series, although it's a ranking system. The races are all different. They have nothing to do with the races, really. But it ranks the drivers. You know, then it actually works. But the way it's now, it's a shit show. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I guess if you're on there and if you're high up, you know that you're a good driver and you make most of the mains. But that's it. Like, I don't know why people care about it so much. Cody King was in rehab and re-entered the list. You know, I had some good results and I was on the list, and I didn't race for a long time at any races that counted. So I stayed on there, you know, moved up, moved down, like moved up. Then I went to some race and sucked, and then I dropped off it. Like,
story of your life.
It really doesn't mean that much. People just I don't know why they.
It gives people
it's so
something.
important.
No, it just gives people something to talk about, and it's exciting, and people argue about it. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
but I think if it worked better, like if there was a list of races and the drivers would go to most of those races or all of those races, then that would be more interesting. I think.
All right. Cool. I agree with you. Let's move on to the next question. Right RC just joined the JQ team. When will we get banners and stuff? This dude, he likes to do Facebook Lives and stuff. Cool guy. And he says, which beer is JQ's favorite? Because I owe him. Asahi. That's his favorite beer.
Asahi,
yeah.
Asahi's good. Modelos are good too.
Yeah,
I like Modelo.
Yeah. They need to make like a Modelo light, though, I think. Yeah. Joe Zaire Jr. ran out of talent. Podcast, check him out. Recently, I had a friend hook me up with a set of sweet tires. They were fantastic. What other brands of tires are Americans missing out on?
I don't know. Hot Race.
Seismic?
They are Hot Race are in America now, but you don't see them a lot. Most people probably have never tried Hot Race tires, and they're pretty good. So
Seismic? You always talk about Seismic too. Well, that's what Kanash runs. Seismic.
Yeah, Kanash runs them.
T-Pro from S-Works. James, VP Pro. What else? You can go old school, Medio Pro. Treads.
They still exist.
I don't know. Panther's still around. And Panther still around, has team drivers.
What the hell?
Yeah. I don't know. Pro Circuit? I think people are missing the boat on that as well. Pro Circuit are pretty good. You run Pro Circuit as well.
Yeah.
So, shameless plug. Beach RC has Pro Circuit tires. Check them out, Joe.
Shameless.
Jose Alvarado. What's up, Jose? ¿Cómo está? Why don't pro or paid drivers walk around the pits offering assistance? They should make themselves more approachable, in my opinion.
Maybe they're introverted. Maybe they're introverts.
You know what? I think a good bit of guys are introverted.
Yeah, they're fucking nerds in the field. Who else plays with toy cars?
Well,
RC cars.
it was funny because Mike and I were having this conversation.
Weirdos and introverts.
He said, Mike says we're the cool nerds. Like, we was talking about the guys who play like Dungeons and Dragons with cards and dress up like wizards and all that stuff. We're like way cooler than those nerds. So,
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, honestly, I get what he's saying. The pro guys should walk around and help out guys more. And I get that I know they're busy, but I also think I like to say this to people. Don't be afraid to go up and talk to them. They're just regular dudes. They put the pencil on one leg at a time, just like you and I. Go up and say what's up. And I'm sure they'll be more than happy to help you if they're not busy. Don't go up to them and ask them after they just had a bad run. I don't know. But I guess more people can walk around. Like, I wish you could have walked around more at RCGP, but I know you was busy, and as was I. Really busy. I know Ryan Lutz is really good at it, but I think it comes down to a lot of people are just nervous to go up and bother these pro guys, and you shouldn't be nervous. They're all cool. Like I told you for the longest while. Remember, I never spoke to Ryan Mayfield until this DNC. And then you kind of like broke the ice for me. And I was like, he's actually pretty cool, you know? So these guys are cool. It's a time and a place. So if they just had a shitty qualifier, don't go up and ask him questions or wait till he calms down. And yeah, I think the pros should walk around and check on people, you know? But the majority of guys I'm seeing are pretty approachable now. So I don't know.
I think it's very rare for someone to walk up to someone and be like, hey, you need any help? Like they're there to race. Like you don't typically do that. I don't do that.
Yeah, but I've seen you. If people ask you for help, you stop what you're doing to help them.
Yeah, if they ask, I'll help. It's very rare. Like sometimes someone has their engines all messed up, and I'm right there. Then I'll be like, hey, you need a hand with that? Just looks like you don't know what the hell you're doing.
You don't do that for me, though.
So maybe I'll do that at that point, but just not randomly walk up to some complete stranger and be like, hey, you need some help? How are you doing? I don't do that.
All right. Well, I mean, it's a two-way street. I think people should be, like I said, people should go up and say what's up. And if a guy sees a guy struggling, help him out. Even if you're not a pro, help him out. Adam Ross, were you able to test the MIP pistons more, and final thoughts on them compared to stock?
You know what just happened?
No.
So you started talking and I started typing and I missed every single word.
Adam Ross asks, were you able to test the MIP pistons more, and any final thoughts on them compared to the stock pistons?
Yeah, the very first race I did here in America at the Proline track, I tried them and it just wasn't good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that setting they use, it wasn't very good on our car. I think I would need to test them more and figure out what to do with them.
Okay.
Yeah, the car was just too nervous and bouncy. And no.
This is a good question. Jason Hodgson. Any tips for running nitro and e-buggy on the same days? Running both, feel really confident. He says he feels really confident in e-buggy and makes the main every day, every race this year out of 20 to 30 cars, but he struggles in nitro buggy. He's in the C final of 40-yard car. It just doesn't click. I can answer this for you. It's the same reason that people who come up and say, look, I made the A main in Truggy, but I'm in the C main and nitro buggy. And I see it's the same with e-buggy. E-buggies are just easier to drive. They're point and shoot. They have enough power. You can completely come to a stop. You can, let's be realistic. In e-buggy, you can pretty much clear any jump from 5 feet away.
Yeah, well, your explanation makes no sense because it's easier to drive for everyone in that case.
It is, because it's just more power to get you out of trouble.
Yeah, so how would your results improve then? In that
He's talking about nitro.
It's easier for everyone.
He's talking about in nitro buggy, he's not doing well. He's in C main. In e-buggy, he's in A main. Okay? Listen.
Right, but that doesn't explain it. If you say that e-buggy is just easier to drive, well, it's easier to drive for everyone.
It is.
So all the people that beat him in nitro, they would also beat him in e-buggy because it's easier for them too. Don't you see? That makes no sense what you just said.
It does make sense.
No, it doesn't.
It does, because nitro buggy is harder to drive.
Yeah, don't you understand that the people who beat him in nitro, when they transfer to electric, and you just said electric is easier to drive, they would also improve in electric. So his position wouldn't change. So we have to figure out, why does he do better?
There are better nitro drivers than him.
No.
Yes.
No. If they are better nitro drivers than him, they would also be better e-buggy drivers.
He's a better e-buggy driver. It's just more point and shoot.
There's no such thing.
God.
No, there's no such thing as a better e-buggy
I don't
driver
agree with you.
No. You know what it is? He probably can't tune his engine, doesn't maintain his nitro shit, and it's all fucked up. That's what it is. The e-buggy, you just charge the battery, plug it in, and go, and it works. The nitro, if your clutch is all messed up, your engine's all tuned wrong, you're going to suck. So most likely he can't tune an engine, and that's why he's sucking.
All right. I've seen people, listen.
Much better theory.
No, but listen to my theory. Comes back down. Okay, truggy drivers. Because the truggy's wider. It's more forgiving in the bumps. It's easier to drive.
There's one other thing.
All right, stop.
Your easy to drive thing, it's just such bullshit. I don't want to hear it.
No. Can I finish?
The other people know how to tune their engines better than him. So he's struggling because of that.
I'm going to mute you and tell my side.
E-buggy he puts down, it works. There's another thing. Less people run e-buggy and truggy because they're support classes.
Are you insane? E-buggy is the biggest class in America right now.
No, it isn't.
It is. You don't want to admit it.
No,
okay, it wasn't as big. It is.
The main class that people focus on and run is nitro buggy. So the
okay, I get that.
Competition, the toughest competition will be in nitro buggy.
Okay.
So
continue.
The reason he does better in e-buggy and truggy is less competition. I mean, the reason he does better in e-buggy than nitro
that could be, yes,
I
could agree with
less
that.
competition, and he is not on point with his nitro equipment.
Can I finish my theory as well?
Okay, finish your theory. If it's
let's
dumb,
be realistic. Let's be realistic.
I'll
In
quit.
e-buggy, you have the power to jump everything. You can go into a corner, get it
and
wrong.
So do all the people that beat
right.
him.
Listen. You can. It's a lot more forgiving.
It's also forgiving for the other guys.
Shut up. Let me finish. Nitro buggy, you have to carry more corner speed through corners to be able to do jumps.
You just keep digging a bigger and bigger hole.
Oh
for
my
yourself.
God! You know what? You don't ever let me finish none of my theories.
Okay, finish. I'm gonna let you finish now.
E-buggy is easier to drive than nitro buggy. You should practice more with nitro buggy. I see all this. I see it all the time. People that tell me how fast they are in truggy, but they're not really.
We're not gonna move. We are not gonna change points until you understand.
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. You don't want to understand what I'm saying. You know what? We've already been this.
No, we can't. We have to straighten this out. Let's say this guy, he finishes 30th in nitro buggy and 10th in e-buggy, right?
Yeah.
So all those people, what is that? 20 people that beat him in nitro buggy, that don't beat him in e-buggy. Are you saying that they go to an easier to drive car and do worse, and then this guy, he goes to an easier to drive car and improves and leapfrogs them and beats them?
Yes, because he's probably a better e-buggy driver, Joseph. But yes, I agree with you. Listen, I agree with you that
e-buggy driver,
because you have the power, just like you are. You're a better e-buggy driver than you are a nitro buggy driver, and you're a better truggy driver.
I'm not.
Yes, you are. You don't want to admit it. You don't want to admit it, but you should retire from nitro buggy and just be an e-buggy truggy specialist, because you're competitive with the same guys that race you in nitro buggy. You're competitive with them in truggy and e-buggy. So shut up.
Because they don't go to the track and practice truggy or practice.
Neither do you.
They focus. I know, but they focus on nitro buggy.
Oh my God! If you know what?
So
I'm dropping this right now. I'm dropping it. You know what? What do you guys think? The viewers think? Because Joseph and I will argue about this for another hour, and I don't feel like doing that to you guys. So we're moving on to the next question. I understand what you're saying, but you don't even want to take what I have to say into consideration because you think you're the smartest guy in the world, and you ain't. So shut up.
He's a better e-buggy driver.
I would say
others are just worse.
I would say to Jason,
let's
give him some advice. Let's give him some advice. Just like you said, make sure your nitro prep is on par. Your clutch is right. Your engine's tuned. Everything's in working order. And if you practice a lot with e-buggy, I would stop and practice more with nitro buggy. Is that a good suggestion? And leave e-buggy because you know you can do that. Focus more on nitro buggy. Is that a good answer? Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Great.
Yeah, shut up.
Great answer.
Adam Camacho, can you speak about clutches, specifically the difference between a 3 and 4 shoe clutch, the applications for each, how to tune, when your shoe material and spring rates, how you know when to have the perfect clutch? You know what?
That's not a question for this.
That's for the Invisible Speed segment, and I have one. So that's a good question, Adam, and I'm going to save that for next week's podcast. Mason Henderson, he got a wing. He won a wing from you. He got it yesterday. So I told him to take a picture. Where are the Durangos? I've been waiting for patiently. I've been waiting patiently forever to see what you do with the Durangos.
Yeah, there's even one in the van.
Yeah, I know. It's been in the van since last year.
Yeah, we will get it done here at some point.
Kevin,
We'll do some videos.
Kevin Tomsovic. We talked about where is the innovation? Again, this is good though. Where is the innovation in RC? Everyone is tired of seeing rebranded microfiber towels and paintbrushes, etc. I did see another paintbrush. And you know what? I saw that paintbrush and I was like, that looks like a really good cleaning brush. I must buy it. I did see that.
You did?
Yeah. I don't know who posted it, but somebody probably put their name on it and sold a $1 brush for $10. There you go. You want to make extra money? Rebrand some JQ, some brushes, and put JQ Racing on there. Boom. There you go.
We should do that.
I don't know, Kevin, but you can get that. You don't know you can get that same brush off Amazon or eBay for way cheaper. So yeah, I don't know. Innovation. Everybody's trying to make a buck in RC without. I think everybody's trying to make a buck in RC with just simple things, and we all want to be cool. So it may be the same brush, maybe the same exact brush that's on Amazon, but it has such and such name on it, so we're gonna buy it. But that's not just RC; that's life, period. So, and innovations. Well, we kind of talked about that previously. Jeff Werner, what's up, Jeff? Coach. He says there are many consumables on a nitro RC car, like clutch shoes, glow plugs, etc. How often should a racer replace fuel line? He also asks, do you make sure to cut it to the exact length as the old line?
Yeah, it makes sense to keep the length consistent.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, there's not really a set time for when you do it, but it makes sense that if you're going to some important race, big race, then you change the fuel line, because it does, especially the line on the pipe, because of the heat, it gets a bit brittle and not as soft and flexible anymore. So, and the lines can start to split if you repeatedly take them off the fuel tank or the engine. So yeah, I would say for a big important race, change the fuel line and pressure line just to be safe. And also a good idea to do is when you attach the fuel line, you cut a short part of the fuel line off, let's say like 3 millimeters or so, and then you, using needle nose pliers, you slide it over the fuel line, and then you attach it to the sort of main needle nipple, for example. So do you see what I mean? So there's this sleeve of fuel line on the fuel line. So it's
like a clamp.
Like a clamp. Like it just makes that connection a bit safer and tighter.
Yeah.
So that's a good. Some people use zip ties and stuff, but I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's like the exact diameter.
Over.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you cut a piece of the fuel line and then stretch it over the fuel line and then attach all the connections, that's going to be a good way to just make it a bit more secure. So yeah.
Okay.
Change it for the big races.
Eduardo Rossi from Brazil. He asked, and this is something you're good at. So, ask JQ how to correct a car mid-air side to side. This is something I will say you are really good at, and good at it with one hand as well.
I don't think I'm that. I'm sort of able to do it, but I'm not as consistent as the best guys.
But you can throw some fat whips.
What they do. Well, yeah, I can throw some whips, but when we're talking about precision, like really whipping the car into the next section and landing in the right place, I'm able to do what the best drivers do, but I can't do it as consistently as them. Like I'll do a couple of laps and then I'll mess up, and they'll do like 5 minutes without mistakes, or maybe one mistake. So how do you do it?
Yeah,
that's the question. Well, the very basics is you jump and you turn the wheel in the air. And even just doing that, you'll see that the attitude of the car changes. So when you're in there, you brake, the nose goes down. You gas it, the nose goes up. But if you turn and gas it, then the car will twist. So let's say you go off a jump and the car jumps crooked. So it jumps with the right side, the radio tray side towards the ground. So the right side is sort of closer to the ground than the left. If you turn towards the ground, and you give it some gas, it's going to flatten out the car. You always turn towards the ground to flatten the car out. So then you'll land horizontal. So you take off and you hit something on the face and the car goes all sideways in the air. If you don't do anything, you're going to land sideways and you're going to crash. So to save it, you turn towards the ground and you gas it. And as you come into land, it's going to straighten out the car and you're going to land flat. That's the very basic, just jumping straight. Then, let's say you have a situation like the perfect example was the RCGP. So you had, let's say, gate start, you turn right, you have the whole shot line, and there's that hairpin to the right, then there's the first double. So you double, turn left, and you cross the start line. You can go back and watch the RCGP videos, you see this double. So what the good drivers will do is they double down over the whole shot line, they do the hairpin to the right, then there's a short straight into that sort of crooked double to the left. So what they do is they turn, as they go up the face of the jump, they turn left. And this is where the skill comes in. So you want to turn aggressively almost. So as the car jumps, you flick it so it starts turning left. So it's a timing thing and also a speed and how much you turn the wheel. So you don't turn like you would turn in a normal corner, really. You sort of flick it a bit more aggressively. You turn the wheels to the left as you take off, as you are going up the face of the jump. And that's going to make it so as the car takes off, it starts turning left in the air. And when you time it right and you land, the car has already turned and you're heading in the right direction into the next section. So then really good drivers will see like, oh shit, I turned a bit too much. I turned too much left. So then they correct, in the air and turn the wheels right a bit, to stop the car from rotating too far. So you kind of adjust the car in the air. But the idea is you turn the wheels on the face of the jump in the direction you want it to go, and then the car will turn. Also, if you see in those kind of corner jumps, often what happens is they sort of whip it also, so it's the car is sideways. It's not sort of turning horizontally, it's sideways. So what can happen is on the face of the jump, you turn left to sort of line it up. You want it to go left into the corner, right? But as soon as it takes off, you turn right and then you angle the car. So from the driver's stand, the car is going left, but you see the sort of top of the car. So it's facing you. The cooling head is facing you. Because in there you turned right and that tilts the car your direction. So your car is actually turning left, but also tilting at the same time. And then you turn left again and land flat. That's more so, to be honest, yes, when you turn right, you stop the car rotating, but also it just looks a hell of a lot cooler doing it that way. You don't need to do it that much, but some drivers, they just do it like that because it looks a lot better. But yeah, so it's all about turning the wheels, using the throttle, and turning on the face of the jump and turning in the air. And if you have to think about it, then it's not going to work. Like it all has to happen by instinct because it's really fast. So when you practice, you think about it. Then you sort of learn what the inputs that you do, what they do. You learn that. But then as it happens in a race situation or doing laps on the track, it needs to happen automatically. So, yeah. Is that a good enough explanation? Do you fall asleep?
Yeah, I almost fell asleep. You went really in depth with that.
It's hard to explain without being able to show.
It was almost like CTO. Oof. Well, thank you, Eduardo.
CTO.
Thank you, Eduardo, for the question. Trevor.
And then at RCGP, the next jump was even more of an issue. There it was even more important to do that if you want it to be fast. And on the next jump, actually, same, also left. That's where they put the pole there in the corner. That's where the really good drivers could, when they really nailed it, they turned the car a lot to the left, angled it down that hill, and also they landed on the very inside. And that was hard to do. So in the first double, you don't really need to land anywhere specific. You just needed the car to turn.
Mm-hmm.
But on that second one, you needed to whip it sideways, angle it down the hill, but also land in a very small area, close to the pipe on the inside. So that's what makes it even harder. That's where the real skill and talent shows.
All right.
Yeah.
Would you like to do a complete lap of the RCGP race in full detail?
No, those are the two main
so you're done.
parts where, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Eduardo, for the question.
You're welcome.
Trevor Paul, Rupert, is slower really faster? If so, why don't you win more? Also, when will everyone realize carpet is king?
I think he doesn't understand the slower is faster thing. The slower, like slowing down makes you faster. That applies to maintaining your corner speed by slowing down a bit earlier, taking your time doing all the things you do on the lap, right? It doesn't mean slower lap times is faster. See, I have the problem where I have slower lap times. So that's why I don't win. But even with me, if I slow down, if I pay attention and in certain parts of the track, slow down so I can maintain the corner speed well, and then in some other parts of the track, actually be more aggressive and go faster, then I'll be faster. See, that's the secret to racing. You need to know where to slow down to go fast, and you need to know where to go faster than what you are. Like if you just go average everywhere, you're going to be slow. If you go aggressively everywhere, you're going to be slow. If you go slow to be fast everywhere, you're going to be slow. So there are some sections of the track, some corners, some off-camber sections where maybe you have to slow down a bit more than what you're doing so that you stay on the inside of the off-camber, get a good line into the next chicane and go fast there. And there are other sections where it's a 90-degree corner into a jump section or something where you slow down too much because you're going slow to be fast. Do you see what I mean? You have to read the track. You have to be good at that. That's kind of where I lose. That's where I lose a lot of time. Like when my car is working great and I'm half a second to 1 second off the best drivers in the world on lap time, it's not that the car can't do it, and it's not even always that I can't do it. It's that if someone was to, if I spend some time there, even without someone, I can figure it out. I can figure it out on my own. I can be like, I'm going too slow there. Okay, I need to go faster there. I'm going too fast there. I need to slow down there. I can put it together. Like I can match the laps of the best guys in the world. And I think, personally, I think that's a cool thing. Like just to be able to do laps as fast as the best drivers in the world. That's cool, right?
Yeah.
What I can't do is do that at the race because you don't have time to do practice laps and figure out where to go slower and where to go faster and practice sections. Like they just put the car down and they do it. That's what separates the top guys from the average guys. That they're able to do that just whenever, like turn it on, they can figure it out and do it. And someone like me, we need more time. We can do it, but it's going to take some time and effort and thinking and figuring out. You know, they just, I don't know. Mm-hmm. They just are able to figure out where to go slow, to go fast, and where to be punched, and they're good. Yeah.
Good stuff.
So I think maybe that explains the whole go slow. What was it?
Go slow to go faster. Scooter Allison asks, but I think we've covered this many times. How did Rupert get into RC, and what made him start his own car company? I think we've covered that quite a few times.
Yeah.
So
if I come over to the DR, we're gonna do that.
Yeah, well, that JQ
podcast
interview. Yeah, that should be cool. Toby Hampson, Tobemeister. We actually covered this, but he asks, what are your thoughts on the low CG heads, like the B2103 Type S and the regular ones? And we covered this. He says, I noticed some drivers always run the low CG style and buggy. and he just wants to know your thoughts on it. What's
I still haven't tried it.
okay?
But we covered it, yeah.
And Toby asks,
CG affects CG.
Toby asks, how is the manufacturer sign up going for RCGP 20? And are the signups dictating the locations of the rounds, i.e. 2 US rounds and no Asia round? Well, we kind of covered why there was no Asia round with David in the podcast, in the interview. I don't know if you want to...
Oh, what did he say?
Logistics. Well, you have to wait to hear the podcast. That's what you have to do.
Yeah, logistics, cost.
So
people to, put the race on, like the tracks organized.
So you're going to have to listen to the podcast,
it's not as
Toby.
easy as people think.
Jay Zellner. Actually, Jay, this is a really good question for... Well, maybe you can answer it. He wants to know, please further explain bumpsteer by adding shims under the ball stud. On what conditions to add and remove shims?
Oh, Jesus.
Is that a Assault RC Invisible Speed segment question?
Yeah, let's do that on that.
Well, I have another question. But you know what? Let's make that the Assault RC Invisible Speed segment. What you say?
Yeah, let's do the bump steer. What was the other question?
About clutches.
We'll do that some other time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually have another question as well that a viewer sent, but he also asked this question: Is VRC Pro a good form of practice for RC racing? I know you've never used it, but I have.
Yeah, well, Wolanka seems to be. It worked for Wolanka. Let's put it that way.
I'll tell you what. I'm an average Joe racer, and I remember when I got back from working, I don't know if it was I knew where I was working, but I had stopped racing for a while. I was either in Abu Dhabi. I just finished, I came from Doha, and I hadn't raced in months, and I was just on VRC for like 2 weeks straight. And I tell you what, it does help. It's not...
You know what I think it helps with, ironically? I think it helps with go slow to go fast.
Yeah, because you have to.
That's what I noticed with that game. You had to really go slow. Like, you had to be patient and slow down, and it teaches you that patience.
I definitely think...
especially if you connect your own radio to it.
Mm-hmm. They actually have the Worlds going on. I actually did that one year. I haven't touched it. I got my computer with a nice graphics card and all that stuff. I actually just ordered a new monitor. My buddy Josh Bohem is always on me. You're gonna go on VRC, and I don't, man. But I think it helps, most definitely, and it's fun. It's very realistic, in my opinion. Dylan also has a Assault RC Invisible Speed segment, but let's do the bumpster segment. Are you ready for the Invisible Speed Assault RC Invisible Speed segment, Joseph?
I'm never ready for this, but you forced me to do it.
All right.
I have an idea. Idea. Why don't you give me half, like 50% of your Patreon money?
No. Invisible Speed segment. Let's go.
Basically, like this whole segment, I have to think and answer questions. So I should get paid to do this. You need to give me half of your Patreon earnings.
Lefty the Great.
We need a contract
with his trusty sidekick, Rupert Pumpernickels.
That's what I think about that. Sidekick.
You have sound drops now?
Yeah. And here's my sound drop for the Assault RC Invisible Speed segment.
You are now locked in to the Assault RC Invisible Speed segment. Check out AssaultRC.com for the latest products for all your performance RC needs. Featuring the best lubes and specialty tools on the market. Use promo code LEFTY19 at checkout for 10% off your entire order at AssaultRC.com.
Welcome to the Assault RC Invisible Speed segment. Thank you to Assault RC. They have been our longest standing sponsor. They got on, I believe, at the beginning of the year. So thank you to Brent Dansford and Assault RC. Check them out at www.assaultrc.com. Use promo code LEFTY19 and you will get 10% off your order. So, Joseph, we actually have quite a few questions. Do we want to do one or two this week? Let's do two.
One.
Okay.
No.
Jay Zellner.
Go to Anthony's house.
Please further explain bumpsteer by adding shims under the ball stud. What conditions do we add or remove shims?
I honestly think you just set the bump steer right, and then you don't really adjust it. I don't really adjust it, to be honest. So how do you set it? Maybe that's the question, really.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to remember, if you change your upper link position on the tower or arm position, and if you change the geometry, raise, lower the hub, like, it's actually going to change your bump steer too. So you might need to readjust for different settings. So people just tend to build the car and then make all kinds of changes, but never readjust the bump steer. So that's sort of how I'm approaching this. So you kind of want to always keep the bump steer the same. Now, how I would see it is, if you look at the car from above, normally at full droop, the tires will toe out a bit. Then as you start compressing the suspension, the toe out reduces, and then maybe as you compress all the way at the very end, they will toe out again a bit. That's sort of how it tends to be. What you want to do is you want to minimize the amount the wheel angles change as the suspension works. How you do that is, so let's say at full droop, you have a ton of toe out. Then as you start compressing the suspension, you have a lot less toe out. So how do you reduce that effect? Well, if you look at the suspension from the front, you can see that what's happening is, as the car goes to full droop, the angle of the steering arm is really big. So it starts pulling the steering arm in, towing the tire out. So you want to reduce that angle. So you can do two things. You can add shims on the steering knuckle end, or you can add shims between the Ackerman plate and the link. So you're raising the outside or lowering the inside. And that's going to reduce the amount of toe out at full droop. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes.
But if you do this, then if you look at the suspension from the front again, then you compress the suspension completely. Then you see that what's happening is the angle of the link is getting really big, and then it starts pulling on the knuckle, towing the tire out. So if your wheels are towing out a lot as the suspension compresses, as you push the front end down, then you need to lower the outside or raise the inside. So the opposite is true. So it's a trade-off. You can't do one change and have both and improve both situations. You need to do the opposite thing for full droop or full compression. So this is also something that's much easier to show on a Facebook Live, for example. But I hope you understood what I mean. So you can also just experiment. If you add some shims and see what happens. And it's really easy when you understand how it works, then you'll never forget it because you know how it works, you understand it. So just add and remove shims and see what happens. But basically, raising the outside or lowering the inside, that's the same change. It does the same thing. Or then raising the inside, lowering the outside, it's the same change, does the same thing. So you can adjust the bump steer on the outside or inside. So
is that all you have to say about bumpsteer, Rupert?
I think so. So basically, when you're in a corner, you just don't want, I think when you're in a corner and the car rolls, you don't really want the suspension moving, changing the angle of the tire. And I think you especially don't want it to turn more. So if anything, if you turn your wheels and look at the outside tire and work the suspension. You don't want that to turn more. If it turns, then you want it to sort of maybe toe out just a bit. So you want it to remain the same angle, but if it does move, adjust the link so that it toes out a bit. Because then that means that when you're in the corner, you won't suddenly, oversteer. If anything, it kind of pushes a bit. That's what you want. Okay.
Good stuff. Thank you for the question, Jay. Jay is a avid listener up there in the Northeast too. Good guy. He was in the Tekno RC Grassroots Racing Spotlight at one point. All right. So we do have a few more questions for the Assault RC Invisible Speed segment, but that will be on the next podcast. So Adam and Dylan, I will get to your questions on the next podcast. So thank you, Joseph, for your time. Thank you, Assault RC. Keep those questions coming, guys. We still have yet to stump JQ. Assault RC Invisible Speed segment.
Do you know what an average RC person thinks about every 3 seconds? RC cars, of course. But who can blame us? We're excited about the good stuff, the cars that endure those long safaris, and the parts that make you that 0.1 seconds faster on the racetrack. Those moments to ourselves when we close the door to the outside world just to hear that high-pitched racing beast even louder. So this is for us, from racer to racer. Euro RC, just RC, no bullshit. Please go to www.eurorc.com. Use promo code NNRC to save you some money on your orders.
What's going on, everybody? Joining us this week on this episode number 53, is the man behind RCGP, Mr. David Isherwood. What's up, David? How are you?
Hey, Keenan. I'm pretty good, thank you.
Yes, we haven't really chatted since RCGP, texting, but haven't chatted. So it was a stressful weekend, most definitely.
Yeah, there's not much, no other way to answer that, really. The races are quite stressful. If for no other reason than, the people organizing are pretty busy, and there's always something to do. So, but I think overall, sort of the broader stress was lower because it all went pretty well. But yeah, they're pretty stressful.
Yes, I believe the RCGP USA run was a smashing success, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself.
That's very English of you, Ken.
I know it's coming from you. It's coming from Nick. Hanging out with Nick, which was a blast. Hopefully, I get to do some more of that in the future. Learn a lot from him, but it was smashing. And I think the overall, I hate to toot your own horn or toot, because obviously I'm involved in RCGP to some point as well. But the overall feedback that I got was positive, pretty much. Yes, there's nothing perfect. There never will be. But most people who went are looking forward to 2020. So congratulations to you. Congratulations to everybody involved. It was a success, I believe. So,
Well, I'm inclined to agree with you, and that's very kind. But yeah, it is very much an everybody kind of success. Whether that's, how shall I put it, on the RCGP side of the ball, the sort of the administration and the media side, or, teams and manufacturers and sponsors and drivers and RC2 and tracks and clubs, and it's an everybody thing. But yeah, thank you.
Yes. So I've got you on this week. We're gonna do a small recap on the season from your eyes, going into 2020 as well, what to expect. If you guys would like to know more about David, I did interview him on the Starting Grid, the RCGP podcast. Also, there's a video interview of him that's it's got a second part coming shortly, but this is not about David. This is about his position in RCGP and what we can look forward to in the future. So if you want to know about him, go check it out. I don't have the episode number, but it was one of the more recent ones, I would say. So go check it out on the RCGP, the Starting Grid, the RCGP podcast, or on the RCGP YouTube channel. So, David, First season of RCGP is over. It's been over for about a month and a half now. How difficult was it?
Well, with a little bit of perspective, already it's in the rearview mirror a little bit, but it was pretty tough at times.
Mm-hmm.
I have much more sort of respect and respect for people who put on a single race.
Yes.
Of any scale. Than I did before. I think the people I sort of watched do it made it look easy. It isn't easy.
No.
So, at times it was very, very difficult indeed. And throughout the season, it's required an awful lot of effort. So, but I think, how difficult was it? It was worth the difficulty as far as I'm concerned.
Nothing, there's a saying, nothing's done until it's actually done. And what has been done with RCGP has never really been done. I don't care what anybody says. Yes, there's series and whatnot, but not to actually have a World Series on the level that you guys done. So, it's going to just get easier as you go forward, I believe. So it got easier per race for you. I remember you telling me, you just don't know, Keenan, wait till you see. And, I got to see for myself what really went on. So, yeah.
Yeah. A few bits in there. I hope it'll get easier too. Making a few mistakes helps it get easier because you learn from them. A bit of repetition helps it get easier. A few less variables will hopefully help it to get easier. But again, I think anybody who's done this or is considering doing this, will learn that even at its easiest, there's a fair bit of work to do, and that's not to go on about it or complain about it. It's just sort of a fact, and you shoulder it and get on with it.
Yeah. Did everything go as planned? Did you guys have to change some things mid-season or race to race?
I suppose the answer is broadly everything went to plan. We said we'd do 4 races on 3 continents, and we did. Did we do everything we said we would? I mean, no, because the goals we set ourselves were enormously high, and we quickly realized we couldn't and wouldn't, get close to some of them in season 1. Was anything scrapped? No, there are things that haven't been done yet, but I don't think anything that I can think of right this second was scrapped. I mean, so yeah, I mean, plenty more to do. We're not satisfied with our performance in 2019. I mean, we want to do better.
Yes.
But it was our first season. But everything that was planned, I mean, broadly everything was planned was done. And I can't think of sort of specific things were scrapped. There are just things yet to do. Did
you guys do anything different from planned that was notable?
Well, one thing I suppose I can think of was we had to react a little bit more and make changes, per round that I don't think we expected to. But, that we set up a pretty good plan at the beginning of the season. And the great thing with having a plan is you can at least understand with each change that you make and deviation away from it, what direction you're heading in. Without a plan at all, it's hard to say, that you're heading in the right direction or moving direction. But sorry, I've lost my train of thought. But
no worries. Okay, well, let's move on and let's talk about what did you learn from this season that you will apply into season 2, 2020?
I think perhaps the thing I learned, the most significant thing that I learned was we're really putting on 2 races. I mean, from the sort of premise that, the races are going to happen. And we've got the teams involved and we've got RC2 drivers signing up. There are 2 races. And they're both, inextricably linked as well as rather separate. And of course, not a great surprise to understand that the 2 races are the race on the ground at a track, shoulder to shoulder with real people and dust and noise and weather, and the race, in effect, on the internet that is being streamed or promoted with video and pictures and comments and all that sort of thing. So that was something I learned, which I know sounds incredibly obvious, but it became so absolutely apparent as the season went along. And then I suppose another thing that I learned was trying to keep things, as simple and consistent and repetitive as possible so that we can be successful. And I think that's because, although we think our message was really clear about the schedule and the format and the rules and so on, people had to really be exposed to it for a while and to be as clear about it as we felt we were being, or understand it as well as we thought we were explaining it. So those are a couple of things. Sort of 2 races, keeping it simple and repeating the message, because although we think we're communicating well, you can always do it better so that people understand and get on board with it.
I agree there. I mean, even for me, being at the event, let's take Everlaps, for instance. Now, I remember when I first started using it, I was like, man, this is, we're used to a certain way. I am, personally. A lot of people are, especially in America. They're used to live RC, and Everlaps is different. I did not know that Everlaps actually was streaming the race until the main final on Sunday. I felt like such an idiot. And I mean, I used it, but I didn't know that. And I was like, man, I really wish I could see time. And he goes, you can see it right here. And he showed me how to do it. And I just think, and once I got to look at Everlaps, it's really a great program. So I think like we could have communicated better, even for myself, when I was up in the booth with Nick. If I had known that, I could have communicated a lot better. Hey, you can watch scoring for this race on this and go to here and do that. But I didn't know how to do that. So going into 2020, I do know how to do that. So I can let people know that. But I just think I agree with you there. You can never give people enough information. You can't do it enough so they, you just gotta, like me, I think one of the things that I would like to see going into 2020 is maybe videoed, which something that became popular that I've seen is like Facebook Lives or video race meetings. So people can go back and say, okay, well, this is how this is going to happen, But the schedule was great. People were able to follow that. I just think things can be explained a little bit better. Like as simple and in layman's terms as possible, especially for me. Because, even you and I sometimes, it's like, I don't understand this, David. And you have to sit there and explain it to me. And I was like, yeah, but if I don't understand that, I know it's going to confuse other people. So I definitely think getting the information to people and getting it like kind of just, this is how it's going to be. Remember, this is how it's going to be. This is how it's going to be. And giving the people the ability to go back, and if they don't even remember that, they can go and say, okay, well, this video said we can do it like this. That's just my suggestion going into 2020.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think, you make some very good points. I think now, broadly, we won't have to explain in season 2 who we are and what we do.
Exactly.
It's a World Series. Several races, the team part, the RCGP part, and the RC2 part, and there's more heads-up racing and so forth. So I think that bit doesn't need to be explained quite as much. For example, next year, then there are things that probably need to be explained more, and the fact that you could stream Everlaps while the races were going on, it didn't get nearly enough promotion. But we can kind of focus on some of the granular detail like that to improve people's experience both on and off site.
Right.
Because there's a little less of the other stuff to push.
Yes.
And for both people attending the races, people watching online, and ourselves, a certain amount of this now is slightly more second nature, subconscious even. That which leaves a lot of bandwidth to, focus on the next layer of sort of what's next, or improvements, or detail, or promotion, or communication. So yeah, I agree. And as for the video drivers meetings, again, a great idea, I think, because people can kind of watch them at their leisure once or twice leading up to the event. But we have to have quite a lot of consistency in the rules to I think make them effectively, and then perhaps just announce at an on-site drivers meeting any changes, or perhaps reinforce things that are particularly important. But no, this is all about what did we get right in season 1? Quite a lot of stuff. What did we get wrong in season 1 that people know about, or indeed that only we think was wrong, or only that we know about, and continual improvement. And I think I've said it before, and I'll say it again. My only real, the only sort of large-scale motorsport that I'm reasonably familiar with is Formula One, and they are improving and adapting, and changing all the time.
Yes,
and perhaps, I don't know for sure, perhaps the most famous, perhaps the wealthiest motorsport series on earth, and they do an awful lot of it incredibly well, and then they do some really outrageously crazy, confusing things, like producing the checkered flag, I think this season at a race 1 or 2 laps early. So
nobody's perfect.
If an organization like that can struggle with change and improvement and adapting and make the occasional mistake, but continue to move forwards and learn and improve, then I feel like, the way we develop will be exactly the same. And, it's just the way things go, particularly if you're trying to do better. And we are trying. So, yeah.
I get it. So, you've been in the off season for about a month and a half now, almost 2 months, I would say, roughly. Yeah, probably not that long. I haven't really been talking to you much about anything. So, what's been going on? What has been going on within the RCGP organization in this time off?
Well, there hasn't been any time off. That's the first thing, I think. It hasn't been quite as hectic. Because the deadlines have been a little further away, but we're already, I think, as you said right at the start of this, 6 weeks after the last race. Time is romping past. We're about to go into, in the States at least, Thanksgiving and Christmas and the New Year, as well as worldwide. That always takes a little bit of time out of the calendar. So we've been busy wrapping up season 1. Things people might have seen, like some of the post-production videos and promotion on Facebook. And then a lot of stuff people won't have seen, but I'm sure can appreciate going on in the background, like talking to our team, all the media, and sort of administrative people, see how they think things went. And then a lot of coordination to prepare for season 2, including talking to the current founding RCGP teams and manufacturers, potential new teams, and obviously, all the things that go towards making a season happen. And we've alluded to that already. I think season 2 will be at least as intricate to put together as season 1 was, but for all sorts of different reasons. And But yeah, a little more experience ought to make it a bit easier.
Okay. So the dates for 2020 have been released. We have 2 rounds in the US and 2 rounds in Europe.
Yes.
One of the dates was actually on the first European round. Second European round was first European round was on the same date as the Nationals, US Nationals. Yeah. Now it's to be announced. I don't think people realize how hard it is to make one date for a race, let alone 4.
Yeah, I suppose it's all to do with your audience. If you have, if you're in a part of the world where there's a strong club scene, picking a weekend for all your locals and club members and so on can be tricky because there's lots of conflicting things within the race calendar, let alone life and family and work and all sorts of things. So just sort of enlarge that a little bit and picking something that works in the context of a worldwide calendar is pretty tricky, particularly when you're talking about looking at all the races that may exist, conflicts for the RC2 guys, conflicts for the RCGP drivers. Finding out when all the races are, trying to anticipate who would attend what. From the administrative side, making sure, as people are familiar with, RC Racing TV and Control and, our media partners, making sure they're available because they have a lot of commitments. So, we made a mistake in research for putting our calendar together. And I think it was Ryan Lutz, who pointed it out, and very grateful to him for that. And we'll find another date, because of course the US Nationals is incredibly important to the US drivers, we'll figure something out as a contingency date for the European round.
It should be good. We definitely can't have it on top of the Nationals. That's a big race, and it'd be very hard to fight for attention on that day as well. There might be more American racers that are attending next year. That's something.
Yeah, I think, I feel confident we can fight for attention insofar as we did it in season 1. I think, was it Asti was the same weekend as Silver State?
No, the first race was the same race as Silver State, Philippines.
Sorry. In relation to fighting for competition, all we can do is focus on doing a great job on the ground, which ought to then translate online. And I think racers enjoy watching other races, if they're racing, and can probably keep up with 2 races online if they're not racing. So I guess competing in that sense, I think we can do a decent job. But it starts with, getting people on the ground in the first place. And it would be a very difficult race to compete with the US Nationals.
Plus,
in terms of
hopefully we have some more American racers involved anyway, so they wouldn't be able to attend.
In terms of getting people to make a decision about which race they attend, we can't at the moment have that kind of conflict. It would be, like hosting it the same weekend as DXR or, a Euros or something.
Yes.
If we were considering the European drivers. So it was an error on our part. We didn't do enough research. Mistakes are going to happen. It will teach us to do better in the future. We will come up with an alternate date. If we want more American drivers, we want more American drivers to attend. We have to try to, particularly with the traveling races, we have to try to do it at times that, they can attend. So a mistake. We will correct it, and we'll learn and endeavor not to do it again. But if we don't make that mistake again, we'll probably make another one. So,
because you got a bunch of flack for not having an Asia on. A lot of those the Australians and a few of the Asia racers are a little upset.
Yeah, and I'm sympathetic. And we started off in Manila, and I think we were well received in that part of the world. Don't believe we had many racers from that part of the world visit Europe, but that's understandable. But we did have quite a lot of racers come to the West Coast.
Yeah.
The Australians, particularly,
the
come
Dexters.
to mind. And, yeah,
the
and
Dexters
it was
came.
great.
They didn't do
great.
Manila, but they came over to America. And then we had a bunch of the Austrians and Swiss contingent come over. And yeah.
I think again, not just dates and availability, but we're trying to listen to RC2 about things to do, so that they attend and enjoy the races. We're trying to listen to the teams and manufacturers so that they continue to, attend and enjoy the racing and find it valuable. And
is it just logistics as well? It's
yeah. Well, I was going to go on to say you can't discount the cost of these sorts of things, and cost comes into it as well as all the schedule conflicts and so on. So we're not discounting Asia forever, but it didn't work in 2020. So already in discussions with one or two people for 2021, and I really hope, one or more of those,
happens.
Happens. It would be really good.
I get it. I mean, it costs no offense to the Australians or the Asians. It's a very big RC market over there, but it's just it's logistically speaking, it's expensive and something. I don't know, like, where would you put it where everybody would go? You can put it in Thailand, and then you would get all of the mainland Asian racers to come, I'm pretty sure. But how many of the Australians would fly up to Thailand to race? You had it in Manila, and you had a good contingent of Australians, but not everybody. So it's like,
I think the interesting one, would be returning. The first race was the first race, and one or two people, we were well supported.
Mm-hmm.
But quite a lot of people have said to me during the season, well, we might have gone to that, but we really didn't quite know what it was altogether. Right. So we didn't. Now, we've already talked about setting up season 2 and how well season 1 went and things to learn and things to do for season 2. Well, and that, we can focus on other details, improving other details now that everybody's a little bit more familiar. So perhaps returning to Manila or, hosting an Asian round of RCGP, it simply would be well attended because people are familiar. Yes. and kind of get it now. But unfortunately, it isn't possible this year. Mm-hmm. That isn't to say that it isn't possible full stop. It just, knowing what we know now and trying to move forwards with what we know now, this is the very best we can do this season. I mean, everything is a compromise to a degree. So this is and not everybody's going to understand it, and there isn't nearly enough time to describe every single nuance that goes into all the decisions. But I think, as I've said before, we're always trying to do the right thing, but the path to get there isn't always obvious or easy. But
I would like to see a run in Australia. I would love to go to Australia, go cage diving with some great white sharks, drink a whole bunch of Fosters, and hunt and search for the elusive thylacine. It's a really great scene down there.
I knew this line of questioning was about you getting to mention the thylacine.
Yes, every time I talk about Australia,
I just haven't done the great white shark. So I would join you on the sharks. And
hey, Savoya's done it.
Yeah. I haven't sort of avoided it. I haven't been to Australia for a while. So, but it would be on my list if we make it in the relatively near future.
I know the Australians are probably saying this guy and the thylacine. Oh my God! I know they must be getting tired of me talking about it. But as I'm getting to know, just off as I'm getting to know and learn more about Australia and the RC scene there, it is really a really great scene. They have some amazing drivers down there, and I hope we can get down there. It will be great. It'll be a great thing to do.
Well, I remember going. I've been to Perth twice, and on my first trip there, which is I can't even think when, a long time ago now, I remember seeing some racing in a park in Perth on what looked like, my recollection is, a fairly temporary grass track. I can't honestly remember if it was nitro or electric, but yeah, I mean, I'd love to go back to Australia. I would love to host a round of RCGP in Australia or in Asia somewhere, you know, for all the RC enthusiasts and our supporters in that part of the world.
Yes.
But like I said, it's so, I feel it's a tricky needle to thread between locations, well, countries, tracks, and available dates. And we've done our best. So, sorry to those people who you know, perhaps aren't getting a race in their area, but you know, there's always season 3.
Yes. Okay. So we have 2 U.S. rounds. So are we going to see a West Coast and East Coast round next year? Sorry.
Yes, that is the plan. I think, simple as that. That's the plan. East Coast and West Coast.
Okay. Well, that's going to lead me to my next question. Where is the first date of the first race is, let me pull it up here, the last weekend of March. So can you say on which coast that race will be?
West.
Okay, so it's going to be the West. Good. It's good.
Well, I should qualify that. That is what we are working towards. And that's not to try and be, you know,
yes,
clever. It's just, you know, you put a plan, you talk about it, you plan, you know, spend ages putting these plans together, and then you work to implement them. We are working to implement a West Coast race first.
Okay.
And we'll keep doing that until it isn't possible. And then the obvious answer will be to reverse it and do East Coast first. But no, the plan at the moment is for a West Coast race at the end of March.
Okay. Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it going to the East Coast as well. There's some great facilities that I think that can hold the RCGP race. So be interesting to see where you guys decide to do it on the East Coast as well.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to visiting the East Coast again. I once wasn't there a Worlds at the farm in
2008?
Yeah. I was due to visit to you know, go as a spectator to that race, but it didn't work out.
Yeah.
So yeah, would love to get over there again. It's you know, another part of the world to explore, or another part of the States to explore, and I understand there's a very strong scene, you know, from Florida, you know, right the way up through into New York.
Yeah,
is it Toby?
Toby
races up in the Northeast.
Yeah, he's up in the Northeast.
Yeah, so you know, met him at Thunder Alley, and looking forward to setting something up over there.
Good stuff. How about Europe? Same tracks, different countries. What's the plan going in? I know you can't say much, but
what's the plan? Well, the plan is to have 2 successful races.
Yeah.
We enjoyed visiting both the locations in Europe. Again, it's just a question of all sorts of things, weather and RC2 entries and availability and that sort of stuff. But I'm not going to say more because
yes, I get it.
Well, you know, we like to try to be sort of purposeful and say things once and get them right the first time. Yeah. Having made an error with the schedule already, I don't want to say something that, you know, I have to then undo or we have to undo on Facebook or something. So no, working hard to put 2 good races together. And we have several options, and We had some great partnerships with Fairing and Asti this year. So yeah, lots of options, and we're working hard to put on 2 good races.
Okay, here's another big question that I know people have. Any additional teams for 2020 or any new teams?
I'm optimistic, yes.
Okay.
I think, so much of what I say is sort of repetitive, really, but, having, what did we have? We had nothing in 2017.
Yeah.
We were talking behind closed doors, as it were, in 2017 about RCGP. And then in 2018, there was the virtual race. In 2019, we got our first season off the ground. I think some of the contentious stuff has gone away a little bit, and some of the good stuff has come to the fore a little bit. I think people certainly understand, how it works and what's going on and where it could go to. So yes, we have a little more interest, which is fantastic. A little more support and interest.
I think the USA Ron had a big influence on that. I really do, and I think that was the most important round of the whole series.
I don't disagree, but I think without rounds 1, 2, and 3, round 4 wouldn't have been as successful. So yes, it sort of. It was a rising curve, and that was the right direction for it to be going in. But yes, I think coming to the sort of spiritual, if not actual, home of RC off-road racing, Southern California was a fantastic help.
Most definitely.
Businesses, the tracks, the legacy, the professional drivers, the RC2 drivers. It was the perfect place, to capitalize on the season. So yeah, I agree with you. I think it had a big impact.
Yeah, I think it most definitely opened up a lot of eyes. I mean, even I'm not even going to say where you went, but I remember we was leaving the same day, and you actually had a meeting that morning before we had to share the car and all that type of stuff. So it's a lot of things going on in the background that people don't realize. And I don't even know what's happening. So it's everything. Even like people's like, oh, you didn't know the dates? I said, I didn't know the dates of the races until they were on Facebook. So I'm looking forward to it. I think the teams or the industry saw something there and they're like, yeah. And I think more important is the people. The people like it. The people want it. And not just the racers, but the viewers. So I think it's very important. I think it's going to happen, and I'm excited. I guess I'll know more in the upcoming weeks. So it should be good.
It's very chicken and egg, I think, really. If the teams, if we had done a better job of explaining what we were trying to achieve, the teams might all have jumped on board, which might have left, the racing community a little confused, but they would have perhaps followed it because their team was involved. Had the racers embraced, the concept completely, then the teams might have been a little bit more on board. As it was, we sort of got maybe 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. But again, having completed a broadly successful first season with, a growing or solid sort of level of interest from the industry as a whole, and perhaps, how shall I put it? Perhaps, the industry as a whole, the RC2 drivers and the teams and manufacturers. I'm pleased that, having had a successful race in California, that it prompted some conversations, which I have my fingers crossed will result in some extra teams in 2020.
Yeah, and I know like a lot of people did not know who you were, even leading up to I would say up until the last race here. you are the owner of RCGP. You're slowly transitioning into the face of RCGP. Let's not beat around the bush. We know a lot of people have issues with Joseph. What will be Joseph's role in all of this going into 2020?
Well, I wasn't known at all, and that's how I preferred it, both as a racer, and as a individual. I don't have a big social media presence. I think I've learned a lot this season, which has made it easier to come forwards a little bit. Joseph is quite a polarizing character. This has been talked about generally and a little bit by me. Joseph was essential in terms of helping to get this all set up, and will continue to be. But his celebrity, as it were, was necessary to provide some publicity, and also difficult and complicated because he's polarizing. Joseph, now I'm a little better known. I think that's helpful for conversations and sort of depth, conversations with sponsors and teams and individuals, and depth in terms of how the organization is being run, as it were. But Joseph will continue to be important. He has a very good understanding of the industry.
Yes.
He is a driver, owner, enthusiast, manufacturer. He wears a lot of hats. I'm not saying he knows everything, but he is very well informed and thoughtful about the industry, whether you like what he says or not. But his involvement can be sort of quieter now. Helping to continue to innovate and work on what I kind of describe as the sporting side, that includes, kind of promoting the races, as he has a knack for sort of advertising and that sort of thing. And also understanding, sort of schedules and trying to get under the skin of what racers actually want or may want, warm-up times and race length times, and how to construct a weekend. He's got quite a knack for pulling that together. So a sort of a transition, and also we've learned how to divide up responsibilities a little bit and rely on subject matter expertise. And again, I can't stress highly enough how this is a group of people, yourself included. You were great supporting Nick as a commentator at Thunder Alley. Got a lot of positive feedback about you specifically. I hope I've passed some of it on. And the podcast, both, for the No Named RC podcast and the Starting Grid.
Everybody has their part to play. So
yeah, but it's important to let subject matter experts do what they're expert in, and you're very good at talking to people and kind of giving some broader perspective to topics. Joseph is good on the sporting side of things. Nick is fantastic at producing, the live stream and just understanding motorsport in general and our industry particularly. Stefan with the timing, Mao with running the race on a daily basis and also helping with the rules and the schedule and all that sort of thing. Chris with photographs.
Yep.
And the track owners, and it takes a bit of time to divide up responsibilities and lean on subject matter experts. And the same is true, of the, let's call it, the management of RCGP between Joseph and I. So, we're growing and sort of maturing, and my, as much as I am reluctant to do it, me coming forwards a little bit and him going into the background a little bit,
yes,
is all part of that.
I agree.
If we're about, change and improvement for the industry, and hopefully we're changing it and hopefully we're improving it, we have to recognize that that's important in our own organization.
Yes.
So, yeah, trying to be, just trying to practice what we preach, I suppose.
Yeah, for me to actually be there and actually see all the hard work that goes into this, like with Matt and the control crew, RC Racing TV crew, they work their butts off. Like, it's amazing that they're going around and they're producing content on the spot. Like I said, Chris is constantly taking pictures. Nick's talking away. Miles doing it. Everybody's doing it. Stefan's just sitting there silently checking everything, while we're there talking. So, and even the teams, I mean, I know the teams are involved in a lot of the decisions that are made as well prior to races and whatnot. So it's a collective group coming together to produce this. Is not just one person. And I think that's what people have to realize at the end of the day. Is not one person, but a team of people working together to make this happen. And everybody that's doing it are pretty much experts in what they are doing. So besides me, I'm just some lucky guy who comes around and has the ability to talk nonstop. But I get it. And for me to see that behind the scenes was super impressive. So, I
think. Sorry, Keenan.
No, go ahead.
No, I was only going to say, it's easy, and not without reason, but it is too easy to be critical of an organizing body or a particular race or a particular track, or even, heavens, a particular driver or something. It's easy. It's never been easier. It was easy before the internet. It was easy before social media, but it was, much more restricted. It was to 3 or 4 people complaining or chatting amongst themselves at a race around a pit table. Now it's hundreds or thousands of people doing similar things on forums and Facebook and, and in 1,000,001 different ways, podcasts. But I've never, and I've said this, I think, already today, or, while we've been chatting and previously, I've never had more respect for somebody organizing a club race with temporary bits of wood and pipe making a track right the way through to a DNC or a Neo buggy or a permanent sort of facility like Thunder Alley or anywhere else. I've never had more respect for those people. For the track builders, Anthony Westergaard, of course, who we used, but there are lots of very good track builders. For Nick and Matt and all these people. So, people are going to continue to comment. People are going to continue to be negative. I read a intriguing comment recently, although I do try to stay away from reading it. And I just wondered why, if this person hates us so much, they'd wasted the time, I presume, to follow the page and wasted their time to comment to remind us all.
I think I know what you're talking about. Waiting for this to die.
I don't remember exactly, Keenan, but I was just struck that somebody had followed us and taken time out of their day to remind us how much they hated what we're doing.
Don't worry. There's a whole
I'm not.
It's a whole group of people that follow JQ Racing around and let us know daily how much we suck. So that's fine.
I guess, but what I'm saying, I suppose, is I have more respect for people at every level of this industry who are helping to organize and create and make things better. I'm extremely grateful and pleased to be working with the people I have worked with and continue to work with. Their professionalism and expertise is what is helping to make this happen. And I'm intrigued and empowered, I suppose, by the negative comments, although I don't spend a lot of time focusing on them.
Yeah,
because we shouldn't ignore criticism, and we're trying not to. And the only way, there's only 2 things you can do with people who are super, super, super negative or hate you or haters or whatever that terminology is either completely ignore them or completely ignore them and do better. Do the only thing you can do, which is focus on what you're doing, do it for the right reasons, which for us is to try to, help very broadly, I'll just say help the industry. And do things better. And I'm not meaning to be sort of arrogant when I say help the industry. It's just a quick turn of phrase to try to encapsulate, some of our objectives.
I agree. I think you need to take the criticism and use it. Sometimes people are right what they're saying. So
yeah, often it doesn't mean, unfortunately, we can always do something about it. Because every single decision typically has a knock-on effect. But we do try to listen and do better. But that's all we can focus on. If we do a good enough job, there is a very good chance, we will continue to grow and be well supported, and the series will thrive and people will enjoy it.
Okay. I agree with you, man. I totally agree with you. Now, I know one of the goals of RCGP is to get RC in front of more people via social media, via streaming. Recently, Ryan Lutz's GoPro video, which I think was a really good video, a basic video, but it was extremely well stable. It was on a great track. It was some great action. Has gotten over 1 million views, which is great. It's exposure for RC. What will RCGP do to try to get this type of exposure going into 2020? Because it's not easy.
No. And yeah, I congratulations to Ryan and Agama and Nemo for, I think it's well over 1 million views now, and got into at least the online version of a British national newspaper, which is fantastic. I suppose, being a little bit flippant, very, very jealous, but very pleased for, Ryan and all his sponsors and so on.
It couldn't have happened to a better person, in my opinion.
No, indeed. And, thank goodness it happened. It's great for Ryan and his supporters and sponsors, and it's great for RC. But what are we going to do? Well, continue to focus on producing good races, continue to focus on producing good, the good online version of the race, continue to focus on producing good, what we broadly describe as post-production videos. So the sort of pre-season video, mid-season video, team videos, sponsor videos, all the great work that Nick and Matt and their teams do, press conferences and that sort of thing. So focus on, good quality stuff, although we know with the internet, it's not always the good quality stuff that wins. This viral stuff can be sort of terrible or bizarre and still get tons of views. But also understand better how to leverage all these, channels in the broadest sense, be it photographs or video or, comments. And, we as a group need to do better at that. So, and then maybe a little bit of luck. Just produce something that is intriguing enough that it captures people's attention. Quality stuff.
Oh, you guys have it. It's just
doing better.
You definitely have some quality videos. It's just all it takes is that one video to get caught and go viral. But that would be the luck part of my argument, which is, do good, produce good content, promote it better, both, organically and deliberately. And then, I guess the last 5%, 2%, 1% is the thing that sends something viral, the luck. I don't know if somebody knows the answer, if somebody, knows the special sauce that will guarantee the success, then let me know. But it's difficult. There's no set way, I don't think. And just like you said, it was I think it was a really good video, and it's done. I think it's done well for our industry to get some exposure to what we do. And hopefully more videos like that get picked up and we get it in front of more people, and then they can see, hey, these people actually race these cars, and they do, there's competition out there. So hopefully, fingers crossed.
I think I said I'm jealous of their success. That's not true. Jealousy isn't something I really sort of do too much. I mean, envious, but in a nice way. I'm pleased.
I get what you mean.
If it's happens to that group or that individual, I don't mind who or how it happens, so long as it benefits us all. And if something we do helps a team, or if something they do helps RCGP, I'll take it either way. If it helps, the industry and clubs and the grassroots, and sell more kits and lower prices, and all the effects that positive marketing or promotion or exposure has, then it's great all round.
Yeah.
Stuff that's good for RC is good for us, and stuff hopefully that we do is good for RC. And we need more of it. We need more cooperation and positivity and positive exposure. So yeah, it's really great. And I will keep working, or we will keep working, and keep our fingers crossed that we get so lucky to get 1 million views on something.
Yeah, it's going to happen. Don't worry. So wrapping up here, we have a few RCGP videos coming out over the next few weeks. I would suspect. Hopefully we get the season review done as well. And when can we expect the announcement of the track the facility to host the first race?
Well, first things first, I think you said the videos. So we released today, I'm not sure when this podcast will be put out, but today's Monday the 25th.
Yes.
So we did released an HB team video was put online today. We have more coming from the remaining teams and sponsors over the next few weeks, as well as probably into the new year, season review and one or two other things that we're working on. So yeah, that's the next 6 weeks roughly.
Yeah.
Where does that get us to? Mid-January. And your next question was the first track or club?
No, we know that the first race is going to be in March, the end of March, on the West Coast. When we'll sign ups and the actual track that will be holding the event announced.
As soon as we're ready, and I would have thought, in all honesty, it will be early in the new year. There's a lot of background work going on, and I think the first thing was to get some dates out there so that people can, at least pencil a circle around it if they're considering joining us to race, and then release more details early in the new year, after sort of Thanksgiving and Christmas and the new year are out of the way. In all honesty, it'll be done as soon as we can confirm it, but I'm thinking sort of 4 or 5 weeks is the likely time frame.
Okay. So if you guys are interested in attending the RCGP race, the first round, it'll be on the West Coast, and I guess sign-ups will open in January, mid-January, maybe. Yeah, that still gives people 2 months.
People should have, give or take, 4 months notice of the race, and then 10 to 8, 10, 12 weeks to sign up. I feel like that should work for everybody. So that's what we're looking at.
Okay, sounds good. Before we sign off, David, would you like to say thank you or say any words before we wrap this up?
Thank you for inviting me on. I always find the trouble with thank yous is it only highlights who I forget to thank. But thank you to everybody who supported us in season 1, whether that was on site at a race, as a driver or spectator or sponsor, or online. join us again for season 2. We've got 1 or 2 ideas in the pipeline that we're working on that hopefully will keep everybody interested and excited and engaged and enjoying themselves at our races or online. And watch this space. We're hoping it'll be a great season.
Me too, man. I'm looking forward to it. You know, I'm all about. It's funny. I've getting memories on my Facebook from when Joseph and I went on the South America tour, and I'm thinking like all we was talking about was RCGP. I think this is even where the name came up. He won't give me any credit, but I helped name it, and it's pretty cool. It's really cool. So, and here we are 2 years later, and we're talking about second season. So. I'm excited. I'm very excited. And thank you, David, for your time, for coming on. I appreciate it. And I guess I'll see you next year.
No problem, Keenan. Thank you very much indeed.
All right.
You are entering the Tekno RC Grassroots Racer Spotlight. The part of the podcast that gives the listeners a platform to talk about RC. Brought to you by Tekno RC. Tekno RC. Tekno RC is a premium manufacturer specializing in 8th and 10th scale high-performance off-road RC buggies and trucks. Visit www.teknorc.com for a complete catalog of their products.
Welcome to the Tekno RC Grassroots Racer Spotlight. This is the part of the podcast dedicated to you, the regular guys out there, working Monday to Friday, racing on the weekends, teaming up with 5 guys in a hotel room, in some janky hotel room. I know all about that. To go to big races. This is your segment to talk about RC. What's pissing you off? Just tell us about what's going on in your RC life, how you got into RC, whatever you want. This is for you. So thank you to Tekno RC for sponsoring this segment. And my guest this week is a fellow podcaster. I guess he's a pretty badass racer because I saw he did some serious bumpage at his last race that he went to. He bumped from like the F main to the A and finished 4th. So I guess he's good. He's a young man. He's from the Pacific Northwest, which I think is one of the best regions for RC at the moment in America. He is the host of the Track Walk podcast with Colin Branch of Team Serpent. So check him out, Track Walk. We have Travis Kendall. What's up, Travis? How are you?
Pretty good, man. How you doing?
I'm all right, man. Just chilling out. It's a Sunday. We're recording. I'm going to go watch some football after this. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Just relaxing. I had a race day yesterday, so long day. So I'm kind of just taking it easy. I already finished watching football, so smooth sailing the rest of the day.
Where'd you race yesterday?
We had a diehard RC club race yesterday.
Okay, I did see that. Online. Diehard, man. They're putting in a lot of work, man. They seem like very positive people, really into RC. I definitely need to get them on the podcast here to talk about what they're doing because they're doing some good things there in the PNW. All right.
Oh, yeah.
So before we go any further, I want to say that race where you bumped from like the F main to the A main and you finished 4th, that was really good. I even messaged you and said, "Hey, good job." That was pretty impressive.
Oh, thank you. It was, that was a wild weekend. Yeah, first 2 days, like nothing went my way. And that Sunday is definitely one to remember for sure. Yeah, I'll never forget that.
Do you remember how much run time you actually got?
Yeah, because it was an NCT race, so nitro buggy, and I think it equated to I did something after it was all over. I think I had like an hour 15, hour 20 of runtime on Sunday.
Okay, so that's definitely worth it. Definitely worth it. The NCT, very good series going on. I was talking to Brian the other day. I got to get him on here. He was telling me about the Winter Rage that's coming up and some of the format they're going to do. I believe they're even going to run gas truck. So that's good stuff. Good stuff. You guys are definitely doing it right up there in the Pacific Northwest, in my opinion. I hope to get up there and hang out with you guys next year and drink some White Claw. And Mackin, what's that other beer that Mackin, like that amber ale?
Yeah, they like that Mac and Jack's.
Yeah,
it's like
it's pretty good.
Alaskan Amber IPA or something like that. I haven't had it yet, but that seems to be a favorite.
Okay. So, Travis, how long have you been into RC, dude?
I have been in RC about almost a decade.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 9 years. I started in 2010. In Central Oregon. My dad and I used to do supermoto, and so it was this kind of like this form of motorcycle racing where it was like 70% asphalt and then like 30% dirt. So it was like, they'd make these dirt sections in the center of like go-kart tracks, right? And my dad got hurt a couple times doing that, and we had a couple buddies that came out to the track one day because we used to race in this little tiny town in northwestern Oregon called Canby, and out there was also an RC track. And a couple buddies of ours, Keith Wetzel and then Andy DeBrino, which some people might know who Andy is. He was a top Kyosho 10 scale driver for a number of years, and they kind of got us into it because, they told us Andy would miss motorcycle races to go travel, to race RC cars. And we're like, man, that sounds like the craziest thing ever. Right. So it was like flying planes to go race and stuff like that. So buddy of ours showed up with the tracks of Slash, took it out to dirt sections. And we're like, oh man, this is pretty cool. And, we watched a race at the RC track in Canby. It was called Pat's Acres. And, we asked the infamous question after, I think it was a nitro race was over. We asked one of the guys, like, man, how much does one of these cost? And the guy goes like $500. I'm like, oh yeah, we'll never be able to do that. You're thinking that was just out of this world expensive. So we played around with our Slashes for a while, kind of bashed around like most people did. And then there was this track in Bend where I'm from, that was just this huge 8-scale track. Well, still to this day, one of the coolest tracks I've ever been on. They had buried log sections and stuff like that and huge ski jumps. It was super cool and racy, but people don't build anything like that anymore, which always kind of surprised me. And we had this big 3-day race. It got rained out early, unfortunately, but and I went out and I did really well at that race. It was my first time ever being on a track with it. And we're like, oh, maybe we can kind of do this more. So we moved from Oregon. We came up to northwestern Washington to be closer to family. So we're kind of north of Seattle. And we found a track in Marysville. And from each kind of summer, we would race in Marysville. I started just do 2-wheel short course, then 4-wheel short course, then got into 8 scale, and then got away from short course and started doing buggy and stuff. So we'd, be in, Skagit or at Marysville, either of those tracks during the summer, and then we would go race up at Mike's RC World in Bellingham. And we did that for a number of years, and then around 2013, I started traveling to the NCTs throughout Washington and racing more 8 scale. I've been kind of just doing it since.
So your dad, who I thought was your brother for the longest while, he still races with you as well, right?
Yeah. So that's a very common mistake. So a lot of people seem to think that, but so he and I kind of got into it together, and it was kind of cool. It was cool for me because it was kind of I wasn't very fast at motorcycle racing, not in the slightest, but my dad was an AMA pro, so it kind of sucked being the slow one. Yeah. When Supermoto had an AMA series for a while, and so he was, he had a pro license for that, and he did that for a while. But unfortunately, the series kind of died out, and so I was definitely the slow one. Granted, I was 12, but I was not an up and comer, and so it was kind of cool because then this was something that he and I could bond over and do together and kind of do on an equal plane because there's a lot of fast kids in RC, right? And I was one of the, local fast kids, I guess. I don't know if there's a better way to put that doesn't sound so full of myself, but that's just kind of that's just sort of the dynamic he and I had. So, I was kind of, it was kind of nice because then we could learn from each other and then go and do things together and go to the track and have just as much fun. Yeah. And, so he would race with me and we always went to club races together. But he didn't travel with me because he kind of burned himself out on traveling from motorcycle racing. So I would always go with go with kind of our buddies. I'd pop over and race NCTs, and that just kind of became a staple of what I did. And he didn't really start traveling with NCTs, or traveling to NCTs actually at all until like the end of like 2015. But he only went to a few of them, so
Okay.
he just kind of stayed local.
Yeah, he's big into the scale stuff, and I saw the scale course that he built for Die Hard, which is pretty badass. He's doing some really great decals and wraps for different things. He's deep into it. His what's his graphics company called? SOR or something?
Yeah, SOR. Yeah, no, it's the full-time gig for him. So and the crawling industry probably makes up probably at least 65-70% of the business, that we generate. So it's a big deal for him. He's kind of like always in it all the time.
Man, the scale stuff, man, I'm telling you, it is such a big genre of RC right now.
It's huge. Yeah, scale is massive, and I don't think people really realize how big it is. Back when Axial Fest was at its peak, and granted, I don't have the entry numbers from like last year. We went to Axial Fest in like 2016.
Really?
And it was like 1,100 entries.
People. That was just the people.
Yeah, that was individual people. Yeah, because they don't do like entry.
But
that was probably individual people that signed up.
It was probably more than that, because by the time like people bring their families and all that as well.
Oh yeah, campers, and it's a whole family thing. And so my dad and I drove. Yeah, we drove like 13 hours all the way down east of Chico, where they used to, east of A Main, where they used to hold this thing. And that was probably some of the most fun 4 days we've ever had, because like it's the best RC event anybody could possibly go to. Races are great. I'm a racer for sure. I crawl very little. But crawling is, I think crawling made me enjoy racing more, and crawling is massive. People really need to respect that side of RC more, because people don't understand how big it really is.
Oh yeah. I'm looking at mine now. They're still dirty. I gotta fix my trail finder. And I'll probably do that. When I get back from Fall Brawl here, I'll get into it in the RC phase and go.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll see. So we talked about the NCT. You've traveled also like to DNC and stuff, correct?
I never made it to DNC.
Okay. But you've been through somewhere, I saw.
I did go to Silver State. So I went to Silver State in 2017, and then the year after, I drove down to A Main for kind of one of their like local big races in 2016. Went to Silver State in 2017, and then went to Electric Nationals in 2017 back at A Main. And then Proline has they have like the Proline shootout that Victor Guerrero and Daniel Adams put out in Proline.
Oh yeah, Proline.
Yeah, down at the track in Banning, and I've been to that. That was the last time I flew to a race, but that was like March or April of 2018, and that was a lot of fun. Okay,
so what is it that you really enjoy most about RC racing? What do you? Okay, better question as well. What do you prefer? Which class do you prefer?
I'm definitely a nitro buggy guy. I used to be kind of a 10 scale specialist outdoors, because with the NCTs here, it's not an 8 scale only series, it's 10 scale also. And so like 4-wheel drive buggy outdoors used to really be my thing. That was the only NCT championship I ever won.
Okay.
But nitro buggy, I would say, is probably the most fun. So if I'm going to go to any race, it's going to be so I can race that car. That's kind of what reinvigorated like me wanting to do it more. Was once I was kind of getting burnt out on like 8 scale electric, like it was just just not that fun for me, and I thought about just going 10 scale only, and then I started driving nitro cars, and I was kind of decent at it. I was like, I'll just do this from now on.
Yeah.
So just that, and then the competition, like going, like the race we touched on earlier, where it's 388 entry NCT round. There's 70 nitro buggies, and if you qualify mid-pack and you have a chance to make it up that far, I mean, that's so much fun. So that I think that really kind of overhauled my perception of RC in terms of what it could be for me.
Yeah. I really enjoy nitro racing because of the pit strategy, longer races. I mean, e-buggy's fun too, like to just plug and play. But I'm sorry, I don't think anything gets my adrenaline going, or even the crowd going, as hearing those nitro cars screaming on that straightaway.
Oh yeah,
you start up a nitro car, people come running. So
it's true. No, it absolutely is true. And not to dog on electric racing at all, but that's just it. It's like it really is. I think it's the pinnacle of what we do in terms of from a spectator standpoint. It's the most exciting to watch. It's the most exciting to race because you're standing up there, lining up for a 30-minute race, and your heart's pumping. And like I used a headset for the first time at that race, right? And the game in, and people will kind of always laugh and joke, about like, what that means in RC, because it is kind of goofy. But after that, I was sitting there thinking like, man, this just brought a whole other element of just coolness to this racing. And it was so much fun. So, there's just nothing like it. I've never felt like that before. And that's like what I wanted to, that's what I was missing before.
The headsets make such a big difference.
Oh, totally. Yeah. You don't know what you're missing until you do it. Honestly.
They just allowed them, because they weren't allowed in the UK series, right? They just had an annual meeting to allow them to use them. And I'm like, if I was racing, I would definitely want headsets, because I've used them, borrowed my buddies and used them, and it's so much better. Like, you don't have to scream down. The person could be telling you your times.
Yeah.
And
it added, what it adds? Because I don't think it makes it easier, because it just adds a strategy element. Like, I'm a big Formula One guy. So I love the strategic element that comes with Formula One races. And to me, I was able to kind of draw a comparison there, because now it was like, all right, I have this tool now that I can use to like really kind of think deeper in terms of how I'm going to race this. And that's not just from pit stops, but that's going to be like what kind of pace I'm trying to set, where I am in relation to people. It makes me just think a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I think that that really elevates the game. I don't really see it so much as an aid as much as it is just a tool to kind of elevate the racing that we're all doing.
Who's your driver and team in F1?
I've always been a Ferrari guy, so it's been a very tough year for me. But yeah, I've always been a Ferrari guy, and the favorite drivers seem to bounce around, but I've always liked Vettel and Raikkonen. Those have always been my two favorite.
Yeah, Raikkonen is a master of interviews.
He sure is. Yeah, I mean, his personality, I love it. Or people would say lack of one, but I've always really enjoyed that, and
Yeah. What do you think about they're thinking of moving it to Miami, taking it from the Texas to Miami next year?
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of just gonna have to see, because I really like the track in Texas.
Yeah, me too.
I wasn't really invested in the sport when they raced more in the U.S. prior to when they departed from the country in the late 2000s. So we're just gonna kind of have to see. I think it'd be cool, but I think there's still kind of some worry on if it's really going to create a race worth having another round here.
Yeah, probably in Miami will be a good place, because it's just easy to get there for everybody.
I think that's a good setting for F1 for sure. I think in terms of just pure location, I think because the logistical nightmare that comes along with F1, I think that's a good choice from the organization standpoint.
I've been following F1 for a long time. I even read Ayrton Senna's biography a long time ago when I was in England, and that dude was special as well. His mentality and focus towards racing. He was super anal about things, super anal about things, and it's pretty crazy. Yeah. That's why he was a champion. So,
well, the story of like when he crashed into the wall in Dallas, and he was sitting there saying that he thought the wall moved.
I saw that today. That was funny.
But that was a perfect depiction of like people think that'd be crazy, like the wall didn't move, and so they actually went over and inspected, and sure enough, it was just a couple inches out too far.
Yeah, it's amazing. Amazing. Okay, so you have stepped into the podcast world this year. You and Colin doing the Track Walk podcast. pretty much focused on the Pacific Northwest. I enjoy it. I really enjoy your A-Team intro. It's pretty badass.
Thank you.
And you know, I promote you guys, you promote me, and I try to promote all the podcasts. And I think it's important. We was talking before we came on air how podcasting is such a great source of media, source of information for people. And I think the more we have, the better it is. So where did you get the desire and to start podcasting?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. So this had been in the works for a long time. I didn't know that it was going to eventually like evolve into a podcast idea. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the thing is that the Northwest, you know, you're really the only person who kind of covers anything that we do up here, right? You know, and you know, this podcast is really the only thing that has gotten us any recognition, you know, from the outside as far as, you know, people actually mentioning it and giving it the credit that it deserves. We have a great race scene up here. We really do. Mm-hmm. But for us to connect with the rest of RC, we have to go to everyone else. No one else comes here. You know, everyone wants to go race in SoCal, go to the big races or go to big stuff in the Midwest or East Coast. No one comes to the Northwest. No one wants to because no one knows what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I, you know, at probably like my peak time of like engagement in like the social media of side of RC when I was like in the middle of my tenure with HB, you know, when carpet was kind of exploding for us up here. You know, I was doing some videos here and there and, you know, kind of more like tech tips type stuff, you know, for, you know, other HB customers, and people kind of were, you know, talking to me and say like, hey, you should do something. You kind of make content sort of thing. And I was like, yeah, I kind of brushed it off for a long time because I was like, well, what am I going, you know, like I'm a grassroots racer, but like I have a lot of sponsors and stuff like that. So it's like, it's not one of those things where like I could really make good content that people could touch on every week. Right. You know, I couldn't do like what Jason Snyder does. Right.
Right.
You know, and I think that, you know, people kind of look to him as like one of the main like YouTube content creators type of thing. I didn't really want to do that because I didn't feel like I could offer anything to anybody. So I started thinking about like, well, you know, I've been wanting to kind of create content for a long time though, away from RC. And I was like, well, you know, maybe we can do something kind of, you know, I was actually gravitating more towards like something with Facebook Lives.
Okay.
And these were conversations started to happen probably over a year ago, where I was talking with Brian Phillips one day, you know, from the NCTs, and you know, he was talking about, you know, we should do something like that. And then I was talking about it with Colin and was kind of picking his brain about if he ever wanted to do something like that. And then one day it just kind of hit like, you know, hey, maybe we should just do this together. So the next couple months, we kind of started shifting a plan about like what we were going to do, how we were going to do it, just trying to find a name, which took us forever. And then finally, once we figured out the whole like Facebook Live thing wasn't going to work out the way that we wanted to, we were just like, well, you know what, let's just do a podcast. Why not? You know, what's preventing us from doing that? And we threw that first episode out and things just kind of clicked from there, you know? And that was the thing, is like, we wanted something Northwest focused because it's like we didn't want to compete with other podcasts, and I'm not saying that they compete with each other, but the thing is like everyone most people that have a podcast in RC today, you know, kind of cover the whole of RC. And while I love podcasts, there's not a lot of them that I listen to because I don't feel like a lot of it I can relate to. You know, yes, I'm an RC racer, but you know, I want to get invested in topics back home. You know, I'm always bench racing with local stuff, you know, at races I go to here. Why can't I have that away from the races? And so, you know, we wanted to have something that was more Northwest tailored, because like almost all of our listeners, you know, we know personally, right? You know, we're not like distant figureheads. Like, people race with us every weekend that listen to our show. So if people have something locally that they can relate to and maybe create this sort of media outlet where we can get the recognition that I feel the Northwest deserves, then that was more or less kind of our strategy. And that's where we've tried to stay. So like, you know, we don't try and like go out, and not that I'm saying we could, but we don't really try and go out and get like a lot of like big guests,
Right.
because we want people that our listeners can truly relate to.
I understand that.
So that's kind of where this all came from.
Mm-hmm. I really like your name too, and Joseph and I think we was talking about the last podcast, but I really wanted to call this podcast Stop and Go. It's like, no, we can't, not RC related, or I get what he was trying to say. But yeah, regional stuff is great. You guys know what's going on. You do touch on some of the like national stuff as well. You guys aren't oblivious to what's going on in RC. But
right.
So that's good. And I just think now people are just getting their information and news from our media outlets. And we just, I enjoy it. I like the Young Guns one. I haven't listened to this week's one, but I saw that there was another young gun episode, and that's kind of like what I wanted to do, is get some younger guys on and talk. I started to do it. I have to get back to doing that. But yeah, you guys definitely promote the Pacific Northwest. I honestly feel, I know you guys want these big names to come to your races and stuff like that, but you know what? I honestly feel that what you guys have going on is just perfect. It keeps like, maybe I would understand maybe getting a few more big names in so you guys can see what level you're at and you can learn from them. But I mean, honestly, what you guys have going on is just great, man. And yeah, I get it though.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I get it. You want the bigger names to come up and race, and it's just so many races going on now that they have to. It's the same issue like with RCGP. It's like all these different races now. You got to put another one on, but I know the NCT is really good. Then you have the one-off races like the Holiday Hangover. You have the Winter Rage that's coming up in January. Just had the Fallout race. I think you guys have one of, if not the most healthiest RC racing scene in America. I said it. I keep saying it, but I truly believe so. And you guys are in snow too. Like, that's this crazy thing about it. You still do it like throughout the winter with indoor races and whatnot. So kudos to you guys.
No, thank you. And that's just it. And that's what we keep trying to push, because, like I said, you're kind of the only person outside of the Northwest that recognizes that. And that's just it. It's like, yeah, people want big names to come up here, and it's cool when they do. I'm not saying anything bad about them coming up here. I think it's awesome to have, kind of elevated competition level when these guys show up. But here's the cycle, right? Is that, the first year they had the Holiday Hangover in 2018, Ryan Lutz came up.
Yeah, so did I. I wasn't a superstar though.
Well, right.
I'm not a superstar either, but I came up there.
I didn't even know you were there.
I came up there for like 2 hours.
Yeah, I didn't even know you were there, and someone said you had passed by. I was, what? Damn. But we had Ryan Lutz come up in the fall of that year. I think they had, maybe they had him again, or they had Drake. I know they've had Drake up, up here a couple times. So what happens, the point being is when that happens, yes, it's cool. But what happens? They show up, they race, they win, right? Mm-hmm. And they make their Facebook post about it, and it goes on.
Yeah.
And no one else really says anything about it. So, yes, it's awesome having those guys up here, but I don't know if it really, the point being, like, I just, I don't want to just see those guys race in person, because I've gotten to do that lots of times. It's awesome. It never gets any less cool.
I like to see them race each other.
Unless we could get like a lot of people up here to like really start competing, then I think that'd be great. But it's just, I don't know. It's cool for the guys here because I get to be with people like that, but I don't know if it does a whole lot for the scene. Mm-hmm. It's getting better, and I'm not saying it shouldn't continue to happen, but that's why, we wanted to pursue something like this, because that was kind of, where that was Track Walk's mission. That's where, okay, well, while things like that are happening, what can we do on the media side to kind of get us attention? Because that's just it. Like Live RC, Neo, stuff like that, they don't cover what we do, and that's frustrating as a racer up here that's so passionate about what we do. And, people always gravitate towards places like SoCal, and I get it. You're right. It's the absolute heart of RC, especially in America, but it's not, I've been down there to race. It's great, but I wouldn't want to live there and do it. I wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
It's a completely different world, and people always say just how much fun it is to be up here, and I think that's what we're trying to promote.
Yeah, it seems like my type of element up there. I think I'll have a lot of fun hanging out with you guys racing RC cars. So hopefully next year. I'm trying to get Joseph to come up there, but for a guy that's from Finland, he really does not like cold weather. And I just can't figure it out. I'm like, you was born in cold weather. You live in it all you have. That's why I don't like it. You should be used to it. Him and Max are exactly the same. It's cold. I'm like, you snowflakes. Come on. So, all right. So, I see you started a new job.
Yeah.
I think it's very cool because I believe you and Colin are working together, and it's a really cool job. I don't know if you can talk about it, but I think it's awesome what you're doing.
No, totally. Yes, I work at a company called Free Fly, kind of in like the northeastern like Seattle area, building like cinematography drones. So primarily for like filmmaking. Basically, like how a lot of people, in the film industry, for sort of aerial shots and stuff like that, kind of are moving away from like helicopters and starting getting into more like drones and stuff like that. So that's basically the aim of what we do, is we kind of create, these drones for that purpose, to kind of that are primarily for holding payloads for videography. So it's pretty sweet. It's an RC related job, and so it's kind of nice to be able to just walk in like on my first day and understand what's going on. But it's perfect because then it's not going to burn me out of the rest of RC that I enjoy. So no, it's pretty cool. Yeah. And I get to work with Colin every day. So
yeah, Colin's good people, man. I enjoyed meeting him. He has a really good outlook on RC. He likes to have fun. He enjoys it. And he races a lot too. He does race a lot.
He does. Probably see a little bit less out of him next year. I think he definitely had a year to remember, and so I think he's ready to sort of just relax a little bit.
Yeah. So you keep up on things in RC and whatnot. What is some of the things that you would like to see change, or something that you like in RC at the moment? Yeah. What grind? Yeah. Tell us what you dislike and like about RC right now.
Yeah. So one thing that always kind of gets me is that, you had a really good conversation with Jason Snyder last, 2 weeks ago about the whole sponsorship, dilemma.
Right.
Where people are, I'll hold my hand up. I was guilty about this, too, for a long time, because honestly, like it got views, it made good content. But people always like to beat the dead horse about like sponsorship and how it's killing the hobby and it's killing brick and mortar hobby shops and stuff like that. And, when you have that conversation with Jason, and he hit it, he hit the nail on the head. And it's that, companies, people got to remember, companies were sort of put in this position, in the same, you see this cycle of like, you have people who have been in the hobby a long time, or any industry for a long time, and they're very reluctant in changes. A perfect example of this is what you guys are trying to do with RCGP and trying to get the rest of the industry on board, right?
Correct.
And, obviously, even if it, and, I love the RCGP idea, yes. I do, and I want to see that succeed. I really do. And even if you guys didn't have Joseph involved in that, and people always like to put the blame on Joseph for like, why more people aren't involved, people would still resist it. Yeah, that's just what people do. And so, and I have a personal story about this. How this like affected me is that, hobby shops just kind of work the same way sometimes. If you have someone that's been there 20, 30 years, they might not always be, and I know this is mean to say, but they might not always be the most keen to staying with the times. My experience of this was, and we had a local hobby shop here. In 2015, I got picked up in the middle of the year by HB, and I was 15 years old. 16 years old, I was ecstatic, right? I was like, man, this is so cool.
Right.
And I walked into the hobby shop the very next day, And keep in mind, like this hobby shop, like I would, in the middle of my teen years, like I was RDing and running their races, I was helping build their tracks. Like I was putting all this effort in, right? And like so much of the sweat off my back went into this place between my dad and I. And, and I walked in there and all of a sudden I just get this hate-fueled rant from the hobby shop owner about, how, well, I might as well just close my doors then, because you know what, if everyone's just getting sponsored left and right, then you know what, there's no point in even me having parts and selling stuff anymore, having a track, because, none of you guys are going to go through me and stuff like that. And I can't tell you even after how many times after that point, I continued to order HP parts through him.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And he didn't even carry the stuff. Like I would make sure to specifically special order from him for that. And it absolutely crushed me, and that's what happens to a lot of kids in RC, where like everyone demonizes sponsorship for this or that. And it absolutely just ruins kids, because kids can't feel any pride in what they do now, because it's going to instantly get crushed by people who are always going to remember how it used to be when you had to quote unquote earn it. And I always have been of the mind where I earned it. And there was, that same year, Tekno was exploding in our local scene. And so as a hobby shop, you would kind of go of the mind where, and Tekno is like really a really good company about doing stuff like this, and actually like getting dealers and stuff on board and
right.
reaching out to kind of grow their brand. And someone asked him one day if he was going to carry Tekno parts so that way they could buy them from him. And he said, well, if you want to get Tekno parts, you should go get sponsored by them.
Right.
I'm like, well, okay. Like, so how is it our fault? How is it the racer's fault where you are creating that path for us, where like you're now alienating people? Same thing he said, you have no obligation to that hobby shop. Their customers are not exclusive to them.
Exactly.
And why shouldn't I order from a main who has grown the hobby exponentially? Why should I not order from them, who I've met a lot of the people who work at that company, super nice people, family-owned company. It's no different for them. It's still
right.
a passion project for them, the same it is for brick and mortar. And that has always been the thing that got me, is that even if it isn't just kids, people are always going to sit there and demonize sponsorship in RC. And I tell you what, if it weren't for the way it is, the way sponsorship is now and the way that connects with social media, I do think it's a little oversaturated, sure.
Yes.
But I don't understand how you can sit there and tell all of us that we're wrong, when some of us, if we couldn't have that opportunity, like me, perfect example, we probably wouldn't even be racing still. That creates the fun of it for me.
Yeah.
I love having the extra involvement, the extra work. That's the things that I really love to do. And if people want to truly grow the hobby, they have to move with the times, and things are just not going to go back to the way they used to be.
No, they're not.
And the companies are not going to just suddenly be like, you know what, you're right. I respect some companies like MIP, who kind of turned off their whole brand ambassador program or whatever it is that they're.
But they can afford to do that.
But they can afford to do that. That wasn't, they do a lot of other stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I respect that. But you're not going to see this hobby-wide shift of just like, you know what, we messed up, we're wrong. No, they've got to make their buck too. Yep. They have to. And if you're going to sit there and honestly tell me that RC is dying, that RC is dead, that RC is in so much of a worse place than it was 10, 15 years ago, I mean, you're wrong. And RCGP is an exact example of like what we need to continue to move forward to build this, because if people just continue trekking on and clinging to the old ways on RC, then it will die.
Yes.
People have to be forward thinking, and people are always going to be resistant to changes. But I think that as more of these the younger generations of guys are growing up,
get into it, it will change.
The kids. Well, yeah, the kids are.
Yeah.
If the kids continue to stick with it, because that's a whole other issue. Is you get fast kids, you get kids that love it, and then they get burnt out and never want to do it again because the hobby is resistant to them.
Mm-hmm.
Because the hobby is not, does not condone it.
Yeah, not recipient to the young drivers.
Exactly.
I keep hearing. I'm 41, and RC is an old man sport. because we have the disposable income and we have the time and it should cater to us. No, it should cater to everybody. If we see young kids getting into RC, we should applaud that and push them. You know what? I get what these kids think. Like, it's a lot more cooler things to be doing than RC car. I think RC car racing is cool, but there's lots of cool things that they could be doing instead of hanging out at tracks from 6 o'clock in the morning until 12 o'clock at night with a bunch of old guys who are, going crazy.
Yeah.
And we need younger drivers, and we need to promote them. We need to push them and continue to push them forward, because that's the future. I'm gonna die one day, hopefully not no time soon, but yes, I understand the whole fact that the older guys, they have the disposable income and whatnot, but man, we need to really do something for these young kids. And that's why when I see a young kid coming in, I always try to talk to them. And I think we need to make this cool so they'll be like, yeah, I'm an RC car driver. It's cool. Like what you play on the game, and like gaming. I love gaming. Gaming's so big, but it's really cool. It's like cooler than RC right now, and much cooler than RC. And we need to go back to the old ways. No, we need to, that's why Raw is in the situation that it's in now. That's why I applaud federations like EFRA, who are kind of looking forward. And all these people that think, well, we need to do things the old way. Well, I mean, Colin is a great example. He went to RCGP. He had never done a race like that before, and he loves it.
Yeah, totally.
Because people don't know any better. When you don't know any better, it's always going to, but that's my whole nother spiel. But
you got to open your mind to that kind of thing. I mean, I think you got to make it, and that's the thing, like, you don't even have to go that far just to make it cool. Like, you got to get more kids involved. At Die Hard, we're always three mains deep on kids.
I see that.
Most of them are girls too.
Even better.
And they're loving it. And, so Die Hard is always making programs like in between races to try and keep them occupied and stuff like that. Because, waiting all day in between runs, it sucks when you're like, that 12 to like 15 period where like you can't work on your cars or anything. Like, it sucks. Like, it's not a lot of fun. And so, that's what we do that. And then even when I was in middle school and high school, and I was telling people, like I've heard this mentioned before, like people are kind of afraid to talk about it, when they're young, because like they don't want to get made fun of and stuff like that. I don't know if I ever had one instance where because I was very forward about it, and what I did, because it was such a big part of who I was and the clothes I would wear and stuff like that. I mean, I thought it was awesome. I would wear RC branded stuff all the time to school. And people would ask me about it and stuff like that. And I'd say, oh, yeah, no, I race these cars and stuff like that. And without even having a true grasp of what it was, people would kids would always say, oh, man, that's so cool. That'd be super fun. And then they would, like, if they could, they would start telling me about, like, the cars they had and stuff like that. Like, I never once got made fun of for it.
Yeah, I don't think people get made fun of it.
But like my point is like people think it's cool. I think they really do.
Really cool.
So
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying I think that we just need to reinforce that fact, so that way so that way the younger generation want to be more forward about that sort of thing, and really make it a part of themselves.
I agree, man. And we need to be more welcome. I mean, we need to be more welcoming. And stop saying yes, we need to cater to everybody, not just one particular group of people.
Yeah.
So good stuff. I agree with everything you say. So I'm not even going to, we're exactly on the exact same wavelength. So good stuff. All right, man. That. So are you going to Winter Rage in January?
As long as I am financially able to, then that's the plan. Okay. Yeah. Brand switch and everything. I got to figure out if I can have cars by then. So we'll see.
Oh yeah. You're switching brands up. I don't know if you want, you can do that when you're ready. Announce it on Facebook and whatnot. But good stuff, man. I appreciate you coming on. We've been tagged like tagging each other. Oh, we're going to do it today and do it and whatnot. But I'm glad we got it done. It's good chatting with you. Keep up the good work on the podcast. I really like your attitude towards RC. And, man, just keep up the good work up there in the Pacific Northwest, because I love it. And I've only been up there for 2 hours to race. But just meeting guys like Colin and Chuck and Shane, the other gentleman, Kyle and his dad, Kyle and his son, and the people from the Northwest that came to RCGP. I can see that it's just a really good vibe going on up there. And if you guys ever want to, I think people should make a voyage up there to race with you guys sometime. So looks like a lot of fun.
No, thank you. I appreciate all of that for sure. I appreciate the opportunity to come on and, give you my 2 cents on things. So I appreciate it.
Would you like to say thank you to anybody before we sign off here?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So just a quick thank you to, obviously my sponsors, currently HB, SOR, of course, my dad, my family's business, A-Main, ProLine, ProTech, MKS, J&T, Tekin, Ultra, and then futurely associated. All the associated guys have been super welcoming. So, I a huge thank you to all those guys, and then a big thank you to my spouse Hep for letting me be a big kid and go enjoy doing this every weekend. So, and then thank you to my fellow racers for making it so fun for me and keeping this going, and everyone that listens to Track Walk. Without you guys, I couldn't do it, and I wouldn't want to do it. So I'm very thankful.
Okay, and just for clarification, did you get Track Walk up on iTunes yet?
No, iTunes. You can do it through the Apple Podcast app.
Okay.
But iTunes is still giving me resistance, but we are on Spotify now. Okay. So Spotify, Podbean, and then the RSS feed is posted on our Podbean and Facebook.
Okay. So check out Track Walk, and if you guys get a chance, really make it up to the Pacific Northwest. I'm probably going to have a few more guests on over the next few weeks from the Pacific Northwest. And thank you, Travis. I really appreciate your time, man, and we'll be in contact. You're always talking. So,
That sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, dude.
We are now at that point of the show where you should fasten those seatbelts and put your big boy pants on. Whoa. Things are about to get serious. It's time for the JQ Racing Rant.
You just cannot keep still for nothing. Can you?
You know what? You really need to figure out your volume levels.
My volume is great, but I can hear you. You need to mute your mic, right? And you're shuffling around and doing all this stuff. Can't you just keep still and respect the process?
You know how on my Facebook Live today, I mentioned that I had one of these mega 2020 combos,
right.
Type R OS, 2 servos, and a Spec Q. Your Spec Q. I just sold it, and I'm going to deliver it.
Yeah, there we go. Story of my life.
JQ.
Story
JQ
of my life.
Delivering. This guy saved shipping costs.
Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, welcome to the JQ Racing Rant, where JQ never respects the process and makes a whole bunch of noise while we try to talk because he's an idiot. I would rather say something else about you, but I'm not.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm here. I'm supporting your podcast with quality content and opinions.
Hey.
And you don't even pay me.
Remember, you're my sidekick.
You make me buy equipment and pay for that and pay for this. Now I set you up with a Patreon and you refuse to give me money.
Hey, I offered you money this week and you refused it.
That was different.
Yeah, Anyway.
Yeah, you offered to just don't pay me and fly to this race or something. I'm like, are you crazy?
No.
If we do that, then you're going to complain 1 month from now.
No, I'm not. If I did that, I wouldn't complain because it was worth it. And I still think you should do that. You
desperately want me to go to the Fall Brawl, but it's just not going to happen. It's just not the right time.
That's because you're all frazzled from your abysmal performance at Buggyland, which we already covered because you suck.
Sure, that's why. Sure.
But anyway,
that's why. Yeah.
Welcome to the JQ Racing Rant. This is the part of the podcast where we get rowdy, basically, as you guys know. So, this week, JQ has a rant that started. He rants about this all the time. But now he wants to rant about it again. So, go ahead. Rant, Rupert. I'm just over it.
This is going to be I'm going to occupy 2 weeks of this rant segment. And I hope that next week we can get the infamous Jeff Keaton on. Do you think we can do that for next week?
I think if you unblocked him and asked him nicely, he would definitely come back on.
Oh, yeah, he's still blocked on Facebook. But we need him. because next week's rant is all about, ideas for improving our racing scene. So we need Keaton on, because he'll most likely just have the opposite opinion to mine, so we can really hash it out. But this week we start this rant by dissecting the differences between a club race and a big race. So what's the difference between a club race and a big race? And the reason for this rant is that there's more and more of these big races popping up here and there. Oh, big race this, big race that. Oh, this is a big race now. Oh, this is a brand new race, but it's a big race. And so my question really is, does the race organizer, the race promoter, does the race organizer owe the races something? What do they owe? Is there a difference between a club race and a big race? Or can any race just decide, like, you know what, we're going to be a big race. Instead of charging $20 or 15 or 30 or 35 or whatever it is for the local club race, instead of doing that, we're just going to turn our race into a big race and charge $70 or $80 or $90 or $120. So basically, same thing. We are just going to call it a big race and charge you more money. So the question is, as a race organizer, if you call it your race a big race, if you charge more money, what needs to be different compared to that club race that's only $20? That's what we need to rant about. Do you understand the premise? Do you
Of course, I've heard you talk about this over and over again. So
no, we've never ranted about
No,
this.
But I hear you talking about it.
Oh, you've heard me talk about it, but not the listeners here.
No.
Okay, so let's talk about a club race. So OCRC, Sunday club race, 2 qualifiers in the main. Why can't they charge $100? Why don't they charge $100 for a race? Why is that? There are other races that, you get the same amount of track time and they charge more. What's the difference? So let's list things. What is a club race? I think a club race is a race that has a low entry fee, so anyone can go race. The race is pretty short. It's like a one-day race. It's low pressure, all about chill, low pressure. People don't spend weeks preparing for it. It's like just fun, low pressure environment. Like, oh, it's just a club race. Like, let's go racing. Maybe no trophies, maybe just some plaques, maybe nothing. It's laid back, friendly atmosphere, right? It's all about bragging rights. It's fun. It's like, that's where the most fun typically happens, I think, in RC. Like, you're racing with your buddies.
You're not alone. I believe that
too. And let's say your race goes bad, it's not a big deal. Like, there'll be another club race coming up, so that's really the best place for
you. Then you probably slit your wrists or something like that. Sorry, did I say that out loud?
That's the best. What was I thinking out loud?
I said, did I say that out loud?
That's the best place, I think, for new people to enter the hobby. They get to meet people, they can learn from people, they have fun, it's low pressure, it's fun, it's laid back club race. That's what it's all about. Also, for people who are already raced a long time, for me, for example, I've had some of the most fun experiences at club races like that, because you have a beef with some guy, you want to beat them, they want to beat you, but it's your friend, it's fun, it's banter. So club races are good. Do you have anything to add to that? What else
I think
describes a club race?
I think everything that you said above, unfortunately, I've only been able to taste a little bit of club racing when I was over in the UK. And I guess you could say what we did here was club racing as well. But like on a Tuesday night, going to Silverstone and setting up a track and racing. And another thing I like to say is when I this recent trip was the first time I really got to spend some time at OCRC, a whole day there. And I totally understand why people can just go there and hang out, because it's so cool. And you can actually work from there and do what you want and go race your car, come back and do some work, chill out. I think it's a very, very cool atmosphere, and it's very laid back, easy. It has a really great club race scene. And even when we was in Albuquerque, we stopped at RC Riot, and it was a club race and it was fun. So, I mean, we did get some dirty looks from some of the guys there, but it was fun. Yeah, we definitely need more of that. I think. And that's a good environment for people to learn. That's where you learn a lot. You learn a lot at every race, but that's where you learn a lot because people can take time to sit off and talk to you.
Yeah. So I'd add another thing. I did mention that club races tend to be short. So it's, a one-day thing or maybe just an evening or an afternoon thing. So because of that, depending on entries, usually track time isn't that big. Like maybe there's some practice, maybe even no practice, and then maybe 2 qualifiers, 3 qualifiers, and everyone gets a main. That's typically how club races are run. So there's not a whole bunch of, practice and seeding and qualifying and mains and all that stuff. It's a short format. So that's club racing, and that's fine. So low cost, great value because it's a low pressure, friendly environment. You're hanging out with your friends. And if it goes bad, no big deal. It's just a club race. But track time is limited, depending on entries, of course. Okay.
And level of competition as well.
Yeah. And so what's a healthy club racing scene? We can kind of get into that. So it's when you have a good, like an active group of local racers who attend weekly or bi-weekly or monthly or however you do your club racing. So it's like an active group of racers who are sort of always there. And then you have some people drop in, various different people just drop in. So you have a good club racing scene. It's consistency. That's what it is. So people need to know that consistently every second Saturday or every week or however you do it, consistently there'll be these races and consistently there'll be people there running and there'll be the class that you run. You'll have good competition for you. And that's what makes club racing good. Okay. So then we have a big race. What's a big race? The first thing that you notice is a big race, the entry fee is higher. Okay. It costs more. Okay. So because it costs more, people are like, well, I'm spending more money. So this is more important now. Another thing you might notice, which isn't always the case, in a healthy club racing scene, in a good region, this isn't always the case, but big races tend to get a higher level of entry, like better drivers, more good drivers.
From different regions.
One thing that definitely happens, though, is you get people that travel to the race. So now you get people from different regions compared to your normal race that attend. And maybe you even get international drivers. So drivers you normally just see online on videos or at RCGP, those drivers will show up to this race because it's a big race now. So the added competition and that higher entry fee, it makes it so people feel like, okay, this is more important now. I'm going to put some time and effort in. They're going to spend more money. They're going to spend time preparing. They're going to make an effort for this race. Okay. So then because of this, the atmosphere is a bit different. People care more. They spend more time and money. And there's more pressure. There's more pressure. There's more stress. It's not as laid back anymore. It's more important to do well. So if you have a bad experience, bad race, you're going to be kind of mad about this because this wasn't just any old club race. This was a big race. People traveled there. You spent money. You prepared your equipment. Maybe you bought extra tires and maybe you even broke in a new engine, and then shit went sideways and it sucks and you're mad about it. So the whole dynamic changes in a big race. So I think because of that, there are some other things about the race that need to change also. So let's say you go there and you have a good race. You expect to have more track time. You don't expect some, random practice and 2 qualifiers in a main and a short main. Like you expect to have like proper structured practice in heats. It's more fair. It's more serious. Like no one gets an advantage. No one can have their friends stand in line or put a radio there or do 2 practices in a row because they're just, dickheads. Like, it's more fair and structured and serious. Like, everyone gets a fair shake at it. Everyone spent money to be there, prepared. You know, they get the same practice. They get seeding. They're seeded into a fair, equal heat with drivers of their ability. There's a referee. There are rules. You know, you can't cut the track. You can't do crazy shit that you might see at a club race. So there needs to be structure, referee, rules. It's more serious. You know, people are making an effort here, traveling, spending money. So there needs to be that. Then after the race, you know, you had a good result. You want to remember this. Like, man, this guy, he flew over and I beat him at this race. And I'm really happy about that. Where's my trophy? You know, you need to have nice trophies. You need to have something that people can remember the race from. Like, they look at the trophy, they're like, oh yeah, I remember that 5 years ago. I went to this race and I beat that guy. I got third. You know, so you need trophies. You need referees. You need heats. You need a schedule. You need some structure. You know, you need to add value to the race. It's not a club race anymore. People care about this. So the race organizer has to care about this too. This is a problem I see in our industry right now. Club races are turning their races into big races, but the only thing that they do is they allow for more people to enter at a higher entry fee, and they don't change anything else. You don't get more track time. You don't get long mains. You don't get a referee. You don't get seeding. You don't get fair heats. You don't get any structure. You don't get a trophy. You don't get any more value. And I think that's a problem. So instead of it being a fun, low-pressure environment of a club race, and you're supporting your local track, you're supporting your local shop, we have these big races that people go to. People prepare, they buy tires, they break in engines, they spend more money on entry fees, and they get fuck all in return. I'm sorry, but that's how serious I think the situation is right now. They would get the same thing from the club race that they got from the big race. The only difference might be that there are some better drivers in the pro class. That's it. And I'm afraid that's not enough. In my opinion, that's not enough. What do you think?
Well, I totally understand what you're saying. Totally. You have to also understand, you're looking at it from a guy that's been doing this. How long have you been doing this now? 20 years?
20 years, I think I've been racing.
So you've been around all these guys. You've seen all these races. You've seen it all, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I've been traveling. I've been into RC for 20 years. I've traveled to many races, but I've been traveling hardcore. Not hardcore, not as much as you, but traveling to a lot of big races for the last 2.5 years. Okay? To me, it's getting to the point where it's just another race. I enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy being there. I enjoy watching it, all that type of stuff. So I always like to put myself in the shoes of the people that don't get to see this all the time. So you have these people that travel to, like I tell everybody, I enjoy DNC. This is my third one. How many DNCs have you been to? Quite a bit, right?
Many. I don't know how many.
Mm-hmm. It still excites me to go to DNC, right? It still excites me to go to California. So you have to understand, but while you know things can be better because you've been to many races, attended world championships, European championships, all that type of stuff, there's a lot of people that don't really know that things can be better. Right?
Yeah, but that's not an argument. We are getting to my punching in the face analogies.
Right, but I understand that. I understand that, Joseph. But you have to understand that for these people, for the average Joe racer, just imagine like coming from Bermuda. I remember the feeling I had when I went to my first big race in Charlotte, and I saw Adam Drake tripling that triple in his gas truck. I was just like mouth wide open. Like just mesmerized by this. So everybody doesn't get to see this like you do, or even I do when I go to races. So it's more, I think the big races is that is the main attraction. This is a staple race in our industry. I'm here.
I'm not talking about a specific race.
No. I'm just saying.
We're
big
talking
races.
about the difference between a club race and a big race.
Right, but you got to.
We're trying to identify what makes a big race a big race.
I believe that what makes the big race a big race, and it's hard to say this, but
because it's not only the quality of drivers. Like 10 years ago in California, there were 10 world championship level, A-main level, 8-scale buggy drivers. And when they went to club race, the level of drivers there was incredible. And there was, let's say a club race had 100 entries, 100 people. Is that a club race or is that a big race? You know, the quality of the field was really big. Maybe even for a club race at Hemet, maybe there was some international drivers there because they were in California. Was it a big race? No, it was still a club race. There was a reason it was a club race. It was a club race because the entry fees were low. Yes, the quality of the field and the drivers was super high, but it's still low pressure, no trophies, laid back, friendly atmosphere, you know, easy to enter the hobby. It was still that. It's just that there were a lot of good drivers. So in my opinion, you can't say that you can charge $100 for an entry because there are good drivers at this race, and this is a big race because we race over 3 days. That's not a big race. I think that a race organizer that wants to put on a big race, charge more money, and cause people, it's not like their fault that people put more emphasis on it and spend more money and effort on it. But when we know that happens, I think the race organizer also should put more effort in and make it a great event and something to remember for the people. It can't be that they put the... I don't think that as a race organizer, you can organize a club race and then with the exact same everything,
I get it.
Just turn it into a big race. Like your effort level as a race organizer has to be higher for the big race. And I don't see that right now. And that's my rant. A club race versus a big race, the difference can not only be that the entry fee is higher and a couple of drivers fly in from overseas. That does not make a big race. And I think this rant is like the introduction to next week's rant, which will be, what's the problem with this situation? Like, why is this a problem? Why am I ranting about this? I'm ranting about this because as these club races turn into big races, not really changing anything except the entry fee, what happens is people stop supporting the local tracks, local shops, the local club racing scene. What happens is people put more of an emphasis on these big races. They attend the big races. They stop club racing every week, for example. So the club racing scene kind of dwindles, dies off. There's less opportunities and less chances for people to get into the hobby, to get hooked. We are killing, like every single way we could kill this sport hobby industry, we're doing it, you know? And this is just one of those things. And next week we can look at sort of why is this a problem and how could this be solved. But today, let's just try and establish the difference. Even the listeners, maybe they could comment. Like if you put this podcast on Facebook, I would really like to see people. Don't talk about specific races. I'm not interested in specific races. I'm interested in the idea. What is a club race? What is a big race? What are the differences? What is required from a big race so that you think like, wow, this was huge. This was like the World Championships. You know, this is a staple race I want to go to every time. You know, that's what I'm interested in. That's what I want to hear from the listeners.
Okay, I get it. Let's see what they have to say.
Yeah.
I know where you're coming from because I've heard this from you so much. But like, it can be better. Of course it can be better. Yes, of course. But we have to show people too. So, and I don't know. We'll see what happens. What do the listeners say? I don't really have much more to say about this. So. I want to know what the listeners have to say. So let us know in the comments of this podcast. And then we get to hear Rupert's second part of this rant. Because this is something...
The second part is all about offering solutions.
Yeah.
So we're not just complaining. We're actually offering solutions.
Right.
What we think could be improved, how it could be improved.
Good stuff. Maybe we can get Jeff on her.
Improved.
Unblock him and ask him to come on the podcast. I think he'd enjoy that.
I think Jeff would be good here.
Yeah.
Jeff would be good on the second part. He needs to listen to this rant, and then we need to rant next
I don't know.
week.
We need to get him away from bowling. He's really deep into bowling right now. So we shall see. Anyway.
He's always been all about bowls.
God. All right. Anyway, guys, enjoy your Thanksgiving. This podcast will probably drop the day after Thanksgiving, but we were recording during Thanksgiving. Thank you guys for all the support. Thank you for the people that have signed up to Patreon. We greatly appreciate it. We know you don't have to do it, but thank you for going to the extra mile. We can't do it without you. Remember, if you guys do want to support the extra mile, it's changed now. It's patreon.com/NNRC podcast. See, is it? What's the address, Joseph?
Patreon.com/NNRC podcast.
Thank you. Every little bit helps. You guys enjoy I hope everybody has a great Valentine's. What am I talking about? Valentine's. Jeez, I got my holidays all mixed up. Thanksgiving Day. Eat lots of turkey, watch football, and drink lots of beer. Fall Brawl next week. So I'll try and do some podcasting from there. We'll see how it goes. I should be able to do some, but now that a certain person isn't coming, I'm going to be extra busy. So, it is what it is. And remember, everybody, have fun this weekend racing if you're going racing. I know it's probably some Thanksgiving races going on and whatnot. Be thankful that you can go race and enjoy it. And I want to also, I forgot, I have to shout out to our sponsors. I want to shout out to RCMX Online, Euro RC, Tekno RC, Assault RC, JQ Racing, Bipolar Designs, BK Servos, 454 RC Works, Papa Willie's Traction Tonic, and RC Raceworks. And I want a special shout out to Beach RC for all the support that they give us. And Joseph, we're going to be dropping some new t-shirts soon, right?
Yeah, we're going to be doing some Nitro's the Glory t-shirts.
Yeah, I think so.
We'll also have some new JQ Racing t-shirts.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you to everybody that bought t-shirts, too. I appreciate that. We will make some more big boy sizes next time.
Yeah, almost sold out, too.
Yeah.
We only have some L sizes. So we'll make some more of the big sizes and less L sizes.
Yeah, because big boys need love, too. Big boys need love, too. Remember, Nitro is the glory. E-Buggy pays the bills. If you ain't grinding, you're sliding. And if you ain't having fun, it does not make sense.
E-Buggy pays Lefty's bills, clearly. I finally figured it out.
Anyway, you always got to have the last word, don't you? Lefty out.
Thank you for listening to the No Name RC podcast. Please tune in next time for more fresh RC content. And if you can, please also support us on patreon.com/The Quay Grain. We will greatly appreciate it. And don't forget, Nitro is the glory.